close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Here come the lights then in Monza, finally, with an Alpha Tauri on pole. We wait for the lights to go out for the drivers. A long hold this time around, a very long hold indeed. A concerningly long hold for the drivers here.
I haven't seen a hold this long for a very long while, actually.
Oh, and we are underway. Okay, so there we go. I was about to say, maybe it will be a restart, but we get underway, and there's already huge contact in the background. That's one of the Red Bulls. I think that might have been Scars into the side. I mentioned that he was going to struggle on those tires. Luca seems to have been involved, as has Zola, and we have a safety car already, as you can see on that board there. Riptide crashing with Cameron Cooper. He's picked up an issue, and it was Scars off the line with those colder tires. Holding them. He's holding them for quite a long time here is Jan Fehler, still warming the tires on the exit of Parabolica. This might cause havoc further down the field, but he wants to make sure he's not given enough opportunity for slipstreamers. Now he guns it. Now he goes for it, and Neon is right there with him. So the Dutchman has an opportunity to try and claim the race lead for Alfa Romeo here. He's going to go to the outside of Jan Fehler into the braking zone for turn one. Jan brakes later and holds the line. He is still up there in first. Luca having a go at Jarne Tripkov here as the Renault and Racing Points going side by side, and maybe a bit of wheel banging between them as well. That looks like Labrax is getting shuffled out there behind. by Calvin, Mahavir, Cameron Cooper, and Marinkello, who are all involved in this battle right now. There is Calvin alongside Cameron Cooper, and Cameron Cooper actually getting the position. I think Mahavir might be having a go at Cameron Cooper further behind over 6th and 7th right now. In fact, I think that was Cameron getting past Mahavir. There was a car off the road there, and all sorts of action going on between the Alpha Tauris as Mahavir loses another position to his stand-in teammate, or rather he is the stand-in, his teammate, Sink Calvin, who now is already getting up the inside of Cameron Cooper as well. Those hard tyres coming online quickly for the Dutchman in the Alpha Tauri.
Well, the hard tyres are...
Oh dear, Cameron Cooper way too late onto the brakes into the side. Who's that is collected there? Is that his teammate, I think, Connor Eddy?
Well, here's Neon still trying to make moves on Jan Fehler ahead. Jan Fehler, of course, being second in the championship, and this would be a very good,
point. No! Oh, it's gone wrong again. Calvin involved in another incident, and another one where I got to say it didn't necessarily look like his fault.
Certain, and, hesitant.
Oh! Abrax is round in the final corner, and thankfully, everyone seems to have managed to avoid him there. That would have been an absolute Code Brown moment for Sandro Van Sand, who was able to just about drive around the outside of him. Neon, meanwhile, has come into the pits from what was the race lead. He'll be coming out just behind Jan Fehler on another fresh set of medium tyres. Here is Labrax, who has filtered right back in there, and actually Neon has been able to jump Jan Fehler in the pits there, the overcut being pulled off, and maybe Neon is now the one in pole position to potentially win this race, and is already getting up alongside his teammate, the first one in this train that he needs to dispatch. We saw them working well together in qualifying, and something tells me that Lars Algera wasn't going to be making that too hard for Neon.
Different to the KERS system.
Here we go. Sandro is pretty much bone dry on the battery right now, and that might give the opportunity for Christian Sendel, who forces his way through the inside of turn 2, will force Sandro to give him the space. Sandro runs out of road on the exit and loses out not only to Christian Sendel, but to Neon behind as well. And this could be the golden opportunity for Neon, who tries to go around the outside of Curva Grande. They bang wheels. Christian and Neon down towards Della Roggia. It's going to be Neon on the inside, and the Alfa Romeo is through and ahead. There's contact as he tried to cut off the McLaren on the exit of the corner. And now Jan Fehler's getting past both Sandro and his teammate Christian Sendel all at once. That's Christmas coming early for Jan Fehler there, and the battle between Christian and Sandro will continue further behind. There was a flick of front wing, and that's Christian Sendel maybe into the wall. He just about holds the car, and Luka Witovic coming through as well. I don't know if he picked up front wing damage in the Renault or not. The DRS will open, and Peso has nothing left to defend with by the look of things as Neon breezes past him, but Jan Fehler might be interested in following him through. Indeed, he will do so, but he's not going to send it up the inside of Neon. Meanwhile, here's Christian Sendel onto the rear wing of Labrax. This is the recovery drive for Christian Sendel. He'll move himself back up into 8th. Neon, in his second race in Premier X, the Dutchman manages to claim victory in Italy.
What a spectacular Italian Grand Prix. It wasn't without its controversies, and there's going to be a few things that the stewards have to look at over the weekend. But as you can see, Peso picking up an important P3 for Williams in the Constructors' Championship, and crucially, that's going to give them, I believe, the majority of the points they need on Ferrari.
We'll see about that. There could well be some changes in the championship standings as a result of this. There's Jane Tripkov jumping up to 8th. Great result for Racing Point. KX Ricardo really had a very solid one to come 5th here. I didn't get a chance to talk about it much. There was so much going on at the front. Here are the two Ferraris at their home race. Zay and Riptide running to the line for the Tifosi, putting on a bit of a show in the final corner, but both of them will be finishing down in 13th and 14th.
I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Round 10, Season 3 of Premier X here on Formula X Racing. My name is Jacob Hancox. I'm also known as Aladar, and sadly, not joining me for today is anyone. Hopefully, Yusuf Milky Cereal Bin Sahel, who usually is my co-commentator, will be able to join me later on in the broadcast, but that's a big maybe. So we'll see if that's going to happen. If not, I'm going to be riding solo today, so bear with me if things seem a little rough for me and my vocal cords at some point during the evening. And before we get into the matter of today's race, why don't we take a look back to last week and see what the results of our race last time out were. And here you go. As you can see, Neon picked up his first win in Premier X in that last race, driving for Alfa Romeo on the occasion. And Jan Fehler managed to get a critical second place in the race, which has helped him to close down the gap between himself and Christian Sendel, after Christian Sendel finished all the way down in 6th, going for the 2-stop rather than just for 1. It was a decent recovery drive in the end from our championship leader, but his gap at the top has become a little bit more fragile as a result of this race. Great results as well for Peso, KX Ricardo, and Luka Witovic. Peso getting his 3rd podium of the season, KX Ricardo matching his own best result, and Luka also in his first race back for a while, managing a very solid P5. And then over to the standings, I believe, as we can see exactly how that has played out in the overall standings based on that race. And here you go. You can see that there is the gap between Christian Sendel and Jan Fehler at the top. That's Christian Sendel on 310 points, and that's a relatively comfortable margin still to Jan Fehler. Of course, Jan he has the momentum. He had the better result last time out in Italy, but he's going to need a couple more results like that in the last 3 races if he's going to make a real title challenge here. Christian Sendel could all but seal it up with a win here today. So high stakes for both of those drivers in today's race. Peso now all the way up there in 3rd after some very consistent top 10 results, often top 5, often on the podium as well. The Czech driver's been having a really good time with it. Riptide still hanging on there in 5th. The likes of Labrax and Valu and maybe even KX Ricardo might be coming for him shortly. For now, we will take another break, and you guys can get to look at another blindfold challenge video. And after that, we'll be right back with the race in Hungary.
And welcome to another blindfold challenge. This time I am joined by Lars Algera, as we're going to be jumping in to France as per usual. Now, Lars, you've seen people doing this challenge before. How confident are you?
I feel like I'm pretty confident. I have never done it before because it's kind of different. But I've seen it before, like on the YouTube channel and on the streams. So I think I can do it right. So we'll see.
Do you have any tactics coming into this? Do you have, any strategies?
Well, just listening to you, that was my tactic. So try my best.
Well, I know Yanni last week thought, the trick was to not listen to me. That didn't work out very well for him. So I think he'll agree that this is probably the good strategy to go for. What is your target? Because Peso and Sandro are at the top. You were battling them back in Season 2 of Division 1 with myself as well. So do you think you can pit them in this?
I hope so. I'll try my best at least. So I'll see what I can do. Hopefully I can do better than them, but we'll see.
Okay, well, I guess the most important thing, more important than the lap itself, is, what is your blindfold?
So I found this sock in my closet. So it's an
A
old
sock.
football sock. Yeah, an
Okay.
old football sock. So
Right.
I'll just use that. Hopefully
Is
that
is
will
it is
be.
it a washed football sock or is it
Yes, it
a
is.
dirty?
Yes, it
Okay.
is washed, of
Right.
course.
You know, need to let our viewers know. It's clean so they don't get any
No,
weird
yeah,
misconceptions.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no,
Right.
it's fully clean. So
I
don't
can
worry.
see it being long enough to tie around,
Yeah, should be at
and it should be
least. Yeah.
thick enough as well. So
It should be. Yeah, I feel like it is. So
in
I
that
guess
case,
I'll put them on and see how it is.
yeah, we'll have to see exactly what Lars looks like.
See.
It's like a bandana, actually. He looks like Rocky almost.
All right.
Oh,
I
honestly,
guess that
Lars,
works.
it looks just like a bandana. You look like Rocky, but
Damn.
your bandana's dropped down a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a basketball player. Okay, right. I mean, the test that we always have to do is how many fingers am I holding up?
I'm gonna say 2.
It's a 3 actually. So I guess that means you are
Oh,
well and truly blindfolded. What a shame. If you're ready to jump out onto circuit, then let's go.
yes, I am. And again, there you go.
And here we go. So we're making our way into the long left-hander, and we are away. So a little bit to the right. Yep, keep holding it. That's good. That's good. We're going to bounce off the wall. Cool. Right, and slow down penultimate corner. Left. Yep, keep turning left. Keep turning left. Keep going. Yep, a bit more left. Okay, keep going. Straight now. Straight. Right. And braking right. Hard right. Yep. A bit more power. Bit more power. It's fine. Okay, and straighten up the car. Okay. This has been the best start to the lap that we've had so far, Lars. So, if nothing else, you have that award. Right, let's power down the straight a bit. And you can activate your DRS if you so wish. Right, okay. Car's going in a really nice line. And jump on the brake, turn 1. Turn, left. Okay, straighten up the car. And right. Okay, straighten up the car. Okay. Pull the car a little bit to the right here. Yeah, that's pretty good. Maybe a bit back to the left now as we're making our way down towards turn 3. Left, more left. Oh, reverse. We're in third at the moment.
Am I in reverse?
Yeah, reverse,
All right.
reverse out now. Keep going. Okay, stop. And forward into the left. Yep, 90 degrees. Yep, keep going left. Hold more left. Okay, that's good. Straight. Pull to the right a bit. Okay, we're making our way down towards turn 3. Keep going. Okay, and turn right.
Oh, right.
That's good.
Oh.
That and left. Okay, keep going. You can put a bit more power on. Okay, straighten up the car. Right. We overdid left. Okay, straight. Left, hard left. Okay, straighten up the car.
Left.
Yeah, and now right. We're into that turn 5. Okay, bit more power. We're doing like 20 miles an hour at the moment. Okay, straight. Bit to the left.
Oh.
Sorry, that's my bad. Reverse out.
That's all right.
Okay, on the power into the left. Okay, straight and right. We're in that long right-hander at the end of sector 1. Okay, straighten up the car. That's good. Okay, bit to the right. Yep, that's good. Right, just power. Straight, and we've got that left-hander coming up now onto the back straight. That's good. Beautiful stuff. Okay, not bad. We're at 2 minutes right now. Pull to the left a little bit. Okay, that's good. Get ready to brake and brake. Left. Okay, and right. Okay, straight. Okay, left. We did a bit too much. Okay, power. Right, that's it. Straight line, nice stuff. This isn't actually a bad lap. If we can get the final sector clean, this could be pretty impressive. Okay, long right-hander coming up now. Oh, perfect. Right.
Oh my god, my car almost spun.
Jump onto the brakes. Long right-hander. Okay, straighten up the car. Okay, more right again for the second part of it. Yeah, keep going. Straight. Okay, and jump onto the brakes. Left-hander now. More left. Okay, straight. Okay, and now we're in the long right-hander.
All right.
I think we can beat Sandra here. Okay, straighten up the car. And left, hard left. Yeah, that's fine. Bit more left. Okay, straight. Yep, keep going. Hard right, hard right. Okay, straight. And power. Left. Oh, okay, that's good, that's good. Oh, the back end is stepping out. This is a good lap. I'm not sure what it's going to be exactly. We're across the line. It's a 3:16.8.
Oh man, is that first or is that?
It's Peso did a 3:05.
Oh.
And I think Jan Fehler did a 3:11, and I think Sandra was a 3:15 or a 3:16. I can't remember exactly what. So, at the very least, you're fourth, and I did mess it up at one bet. Well, I think I could have given you the instruction a bit quicker, and it would have avoided the wall. So,
yeah,
yourself and Jan Fehler, you've kind of been ruined by me, both of you, as I think maybe. Jan Fehler definitely could have got 2 minutes, and you might have been able to as well.
I feel like it went actually pretty good. I was kind of skeptical, like how this was gonna go, but
yeah,
I feel like I did pretty good. So,
in fairness, I will say, and I think everyone who sees this video or who's watching live on the stream when we show it on Friday will agree that you were the best contestant when it came to actually starting your lap. Everyone else had weird kind of detours where they had to get used to doing it, whereas you kind of jumped in and you felt comfortable from the get-go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just one time I almost turned left when you said right, so I was kind of like, oh no, the other way. That's like listening is kind of sometimes hard, so you just gotta listen really closely, and then still you're gonna mess up. So, but yeah, I'm happy.
So I've got to say, do you have any advice for the future contestants? And speaking of future contestants, is there anyone you'd like to nominate to do the challenge next?
I'm not sure. Like I don't know, like how many? We have 2 races left, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Just anyone who wants to do it should do it. That's just, I don't know. I don't have anyone to nominate, so.
You know what? I know Outlaw's been begging to do it for a very long time, so I might have to get Outlaw to do it. Yeah. Outlaw.
Definitely.
From when this has been announced, you've got like 10 seconds to claim this in the Twitch chat, so make sure make sure he's either way, Lars, thank you very much for joining me. You've been an absolute pleasure to guide around the circuit, and best of luck in the rest of the races in FXR.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed a look into Lars Algera driving without any eyes, with the very helpful, ever helpful Milky Cereal as his guide. Now, why don't we talk about the race that we actually have in front of us today? And today we will be racing around the Hungaroring near Budapest in Hungary, and it's a track that like so many circuits, it's a bit better on the game than it is in real life. Sometimes, particularly in wet conditions, it can still be a bit of an issue for overtaking, but that's the thing. In Formula X racing this season, we have no wet races, only dry races. So hopefully we should still see a fair few overtakes into the likes of Turn 1 and maybe into Turn 2 as well. 3 and 4. Maybe you could sometimes get overtakes into Turn 4. Then you got the whole back section. Maybe you see someone trying to pass someone into Turn 6 on the opening lap. But outside of that, it's unlikely to be much of an overtaking zone until you get down to maybe Turn 12, but more likely just route all the way around back to Turn 1 again. It is an interesting circuit, very technical circuit, quite a low speed circuit in general. And building up a flow at the Hungaroring, I've always found, can be very difficult. But if you do manage to do it, if you manage to find yourself in a rhythm, I do think you can actually gain a lot from that. It leads to a lot of consistency. You're less likely to track extend and that sort of thing, which can be a problem around here as well. So that's something we're going to have to be watching out for. But yeah, it just seems to me that if you get in that rhythm, sometimes you can just find, a good couple of tenths a lap at least without really knowing what it exactly is you're doing differently. Sometimes it just comes mesmeric, But why don't we now just going to quickly also run you through all the drivers who should be participating today while we get the finishing touches on the lobby setup here. So For Alfa Romeo, we have Lars Algera driving, of course, and replacing Neon for today, I believe we have a new reserve driver in the form of Harlem, who I'm afraid I know nothing about, so I'm very interested to see exactly what Harlem will be bringing to Alfa Romeo here today. For the AlphaTauris, weirdly, we have Sandro Van Sant driving an AlphaTauri today because he dropped out of Williams, dropped to become a reserve driver, but is now participating in the very next race after he dropped out as a reserve driver, and he will be driving for AlphaTauri alongside Ollie P, who is returning for today after a week's absence last time out in Italy. Then for Ferrari, it's the usual duo of Riptide and Zay, who have had a very impressively solid time in the championship standings and had very good attendance records between them as well, which has certainly helped. And for the Haas team, Maranello and Zola, 15th and 16th in the standings, very close to one another at the moment. And Zola managed a pretty good result the last time out in Italy, and Haas will be hoping for more like that. And then on to Mercedes, where we have Cameron Cooper once again as a usual Mercedes driver. And instead of Conor Reddy, who has internet issues now that he's no longer at university, we have AJ coming back. And fans of Formula X and Premier X will remember AJ from last season as one of the Alfa Romeo drivers in that season. And yeah, was a very solid driver there, often sort of knocking on the door of a podium, that sort of position. So it'll be interesting to see what AJ can bring today in Hungary. And then on to the McLarens, of course, we have Jan Fehler and Christian Sendel, our championship protagonists, both there for the McLaren team here today. And that is not a surprise whatsoever. Both of them going to be very hungry and keen to try and make sure they are going to be the one that's coming out on top in the championship. The Racing Points will be represented by the usual duo of KX Ricciardo and Jarno Tripkov. The Red Bulls will be represented by Valu and Scars, who are both the full-time drivers for that team now. Hopefully for Scars, he can have a better start than he had in Italy when he just completely lost it off the start line, crashed and DNF from the race pretty much immediately. For the Renault team, it is Labrax, who's been there all season, and Luka Vitovic is returning. He is now a full-time Renault driver, replacing Ben in the seat, which Ben replaced Ice Looper in the seat. So that second Renault seat has been a bit of hot potato thus far this season, but Luka should be seeing the season out with it. And then for Williams, we have Peso and Mahavir Raghunathan once again participating here today, like he did in Italy. And he managed some very solid points last time out. So hopefully we'll be seeing another good performance from him today here as well. He definitely has good pace. You know, sometimes a strategy can go a bit awry. That's something we saw a lot in season one. But in general, his pace has been very solid. And he looked to have taken a step up, actually, at the last race in Italy. That seemed like a bit above where we were used to seeing him from the first season of Premier X, when you take into account the difference, you know, the relative difference in field strength and that sort of thing. So, yeah, hopefully for him, it'll be a good result in Hungary. And I believe, if I heard that correctly, I believe we have the lobby all set up and ready, and we should be getting into qualifying in Hungary in just a moment's time. All right, we are just loading in right now. So everyone in chat, why don't you let me know who you think is going to be claiming pole, and maybe who you think is going to be getting knocked out in this first stage of qualifying as well. And you can't vote for yourself for pole or to get knocked out, because then maybe you're sandbagging because you want to win the honorable bet in chat. I don't know. You bear with me on that one. But here we go. And okay, so we are into qualifying, and a couple of clarifications I should make is that I believe Mark, that is the person I was calling Harlem earlier. I was told he'd be called Harlem. In fact, he's called Marks. But so it is Mark who is driving in the Alfa Romeo here today. And Kilmet Tide, I'm assuming that is indeed Riptide. Kilmet sounds like a Swedish word. Riptide's a Swedish guy, has Tide in the name, driving the Ferrari. I'm pretty sure that's Riptide. Everyone else, I think, is going to be pretty much as you would expect. Sendel there, that is, of course, Christian Sendel, just with a revamped form of name. And we'll see who's going to be the first one out on track and whether they're going to be running intermediate tyres when they do get out on track or not. Jarno Tripkov and Luka Vitovic currently sitting on those intermediates. There is a car leaving the pit lane. I think that might be one of the Haas's, unless I'm mistaken. And we'll see who it is. It's going to be out there for the first outlap of the session in just a moment. And it's Jarno Tripkov, not a Haas at all. One of the Racing Points, and unfortunately he is out there on intermediate tyres, so I doubt we're going to get too much information from the Macedonian here. on this outlap. But of course, for those of you who don't know, this is something the drivers do to get the track rubbered in a little bit without burning a set of tires. Sometimes they use it to set a banker lap as well. And that can potentially help if other drivers invalidate all their laps, fail to set a lap time in the session. Then even if you have a horrendously slow lap time on intermediate tires, you can still be a little bit higher up the grid than you would have been otherwise. So they're just going around here. And, most of the drivers, or all of the drivers really, don't need all the time available to them in this first stage of qualifying anyway, so they can afford to do this kind of thing, go out on this set of tires, which is obviously completely unsuited to the circuit that they are currently racing on, because it is, of course, bone dry. But actually, we do have two drivers out there on softs now, and they are Mahavir Raghunathan and AJ. So why don't we take a look at AJ then, the British driver who was part of that rather impressive Alfa Romeo team last season. That was a team that was always punching above their weight and doing a little bit better than we were always expecting them to do. We had them pegged as pretty much solidly mid-table, but AJ was coming home to top 10 finishes pretty often. And here is Mahavir then in the Williams for today with his soft tyres on as well. It looks like he's going to be starting his flying lap first. So why don't we take a look and see what the Indian is going to be able to do on this very first lap here at the Hungaroring, as he heads down towards turn 1, braking just a smidgen before that 50-meter board, meeting the apex and getting the throttle applied on the exit without too much difficulty there. It appears I'm having a few internet issues myself, so bear with me right now, as I'm not exactly sure what he is doing, as I'm currently seeing this about one frame every 10 seconds or so. So bear with me one moment while this gets sorted out. It would appear he has invalidated the lap, and as he invalidated the lap, I regained my ability to see what's going on again. So evidently he's done some sort of magic trick with that one, sacrificing himself so that I could see. And AJ also invalidates on the exit there of turn 4. So both of them will have to go again on the same set of soft tyres just to get a banker lap on the board. That's a bit of a disappointment for them, but I'm sure they won't be feeling too unhappy about it. It's the sort of thing that you expect to happen, particularly through turn 4, where if you run just that little bit too wide, it is very, very punishing on track limits, as AJ found out to his cost just then. They are still the only two drivers out there on the circuit who are on soft tyres, or on dry tyres, I should say. Everyone else on the intermediates who is out there on track at the moment. Interestingly, Yannick Tripkov didn't actually elect to set a lap time, just went back into the pits. Same for Peso, I believe. So neither of them actually committing to a lap on those inters, as here comes Mahavir once again for his second crack at a flying lap here in qualifying 1. Turns it in, uses a lot of the curb there through turn 1. But it doesn't seem to have harmed him too much. The car looked very, very smooth on the exit, using the curb on entry to turn 2. That can unsettle the car sometimes, but nevertheless, he's managed to hold on to it. Once again, the car looking very, very stable in the Indians' hands right now. Ooh, and that was almost a cut on the inside of turn 4 there, but he left easily enough margin on the exit of that corner through turn 5. All smooth, neat and tidy, using the entry curb again through 6 and 7. Same story through 8 as well. You can afford to use it through 8. It opens up the line pretty significantly as we're into this S section at the back end of the circuit, which is one of the most skillful parts of the track, one of the most difficult parts of the track to drive. Mahavir looked to have done a decent job of it there as we head into the heavy braking zone there of turn 12, and then another heavy braking zone for turn 13, where it's a corner that you really wish you'd get on the throttle just a little bit earlier than you actually can. And same story once again for this final corner here. And then out towards the line for Mahavir Raghunathan, who will set a 1:14.3 for the opening exchange of this qualifying session. AJ is about to cross the line behind him and invalidated his second lap as well. And is still out there, does have about 40% remaining in the battery, so might be able to go for one more lap in that Mercedes. But AJ, in his first qualifying session back in Formula X Racing as a reserve driver here in Season 3, struggling to get a lap time on the board at the beginning of the qualifying session. Here then is KX Ricardo, as we cut back to AJ, who should be pushing once again on this lap. We can see still up there in hot lap mode on the ERS. So the interim Mercedes driver is still pushing out there as we head into the chicane, riding the curb on the exit. That looked like a decent line through there, and the track map isn't lit up in red, so evidently he's managed to avoid invalidating this lap so far. And we'll see if he can continue that all the way through to the final couple of corners. You can see really struggling for ERS, so that's definitely going to hurt him when it comes to exiting the final corner here. I'm not sure he's really going to have enough ERS to get the optimal lap time here, but he is going to commit to this final corner right now, is AJ, around that final corner and then up towards the line. And where will this put him relative to Mahavir? It puts him significantly faster, a 1:13.953 on his third lap on that set of soft tyres. Is enough to put him into provisional pole for the time being. But you've got to imagine there are going to be plenty of drivers out there who feel that they can knock him off of that spot. And one of those may well be KX Ricardo, who's been quietly improving in recent races. 2 fourth-place finishes in his last 3 races. And in the whole season, before those last 3 races, KX Ricardo did not manage anything anywhere near as high as a 4th-place finish. So those are 2 very big results for the Hong Kong driver. And it was punctuated with a 16th place finish in between the 2, but nevertheless, it's good momentum for KX Ricardo to try and carry on with here. Managed 11th on the grid in qualifying back in Italy last time out as well. So stepping up in both qualifying and the race. And let's see whether this qualifying session will do him any favors. It hasn't exactly looked that smooth through the S section at the back end of the circuit here. It's a little bit sort of jagged, and you can see riding the curbs will pick up an invalidation as we get into the final sector of the lap. So unfortunately, KX Ricardo will not be able to commit to this. We'll have to go again on the same set of tyres. 9 minutes and 3/4 left in the qualifying session. Only 2 lap times on the board for now, if you ignore all those who set their laps on intermediate tyres. Now, here is Valu, a driver who has had a frustrating time of it throughout this season. A couple of DNFs in his last 3 races, but did manage his first podium of the season back in France. If he can have another clean race like that here in Hungary, he may well be looking at another podium finish, and that is the very least that he will be expecting here today as he exits turn 1. Was a bit wide to the apex there, might have lost him maybe a 10th or so, as he'll try and stay tight to the inside of turn 2, letting it drift wide, but that's going to compromise the line a little bit through 3. Looks like he was able to be flat out regardless. The Finn in the Red Bull committing to turn 4 there, not really riding the curb on the exit, suggesting that he could have taken a few kilometers per hour more through that particular part of the track. As now we head through the intricate chicane, and he makes it look very easy, and I can tell you that corner is not very easy whatsoever. So good driving here from Valu on this first lap of the session, as Peso has moved himself up to the top with a 1:13.5. That is now the benchmark time for the Finn as he exits sector 2, I should say, into the third and final sector of the lap. And once again, these long corners to finish off the lap, they can be very frustrating if you feel like you have a good lap and you just want to get them over with and you want to just take a little bit more maybe out of them than you're allowed to, as he crosses the line. And he has gone fastest by a comfortable margin. A 1:13.172 lowers the bar significantly. Cameron Cooper did also come across the line, and he actually did an identical lap time to KX Ricardo, both of them sitting on 1:14.2s right now. Here's Sandro Van Sand in his first race as a reserve, and he moves up ahead of his ex-teammate Peso there. So Sandro getting the jump on Peso by 0.08 of a second and moving himself up into second place. Here then is Jane Tripkov, the Macedonian. Ooh, struggling with understeer there through turn 12. Maybe braking just a little bit too late into that one as he entered sector 3. Looked good through turn 13, though. He's going to run a little bit deep into the start of 14 to allow him better throttle application on the exit, riding the curb perfectly, and crosses the line to only go 4th fastest. And Christian Sendel now becomes almost the first driver into the 12s. He's still in the 13s, a 1:13.079 for the German Christian Sendel, who moves himself to the top ahead of Valu. And the battle between Red Bulls and McLarens has been the story of the season, at least as far as qualifying has been concerned. And that is Christian Sendel getting the initial edge in the battle with Valu. Jan Fehler, interestingly, is still in the pit lane. He's just leaving the pit lane now. Oh, Scars losing it out of turn 12 there. He'll keep it out of the barrier, but those tyres will not be feeling all that great. They're going to be very, very warm and I doubt he has enough time to cool them off properly before exiting the final corner, so we might well see the South African heading back into the pit lane here. And indeed, he does make that call back into the pits for the newer Red Bull driver, and he's yet to set a lap time right now. Here is Lars Algera. Bit of a squiggle there on the exit of turn 13. Now 14, the final challenge, and he'll come up towards the line. Where is this going to slot him in? We saw him in the blindfold challenge earlier, and this lap is the slowest of anyone who has set a lap time on dry tyres. A 1:14.4, only good enough for 10th, and with 10 drivers behind him ready to improve. One of those is Riptide here in the Ferrari, who has been very, very solid all season. A very impressive performance from him, considering where we thought he'd be at the start of the season. As he heads through turn 4 there, I think Labrax just moved up onto the timing sheets there for Renault with a 1:13.706, slotting himself in between Jane Tripkov and Peso there, as Riptide is still pushing on this lap, heading through turn 9. One of the most difficult corners on the circuit, if you ask me. Now turn 10, that's easy flat. Turn 11, got to be very committed through there, but you can't run too wide on the exit, as Riptide has clearly demonstrated there, because otherwise you will pick up that penalty. Now, Luka Witovic, who, if my eyes didn't deceive me, might have been getting a little bit of a slipstream from Labrax down the main straight. I thought I saw that on the minimap. The Renaults were pretty close in tandem after Labrax set that initial lap time. So let's see if Luka is going to be feeling any benefits from that or not. He's getting a bit of dirty air here from the Ferrari of Zay, who is just up ahead of him. But nothing you can complain about. Zay looks like he's pushing out there at the moment. Both of them yet to set a lap time, a representative lap time, I should say, in this qualifying session. Zay does actually just head back into the pit lane. So Luka won't necessarily thank him for his escort around Sector 2 and most of Sector 3, but across the line, Luka does move ahead of his teammate and up into 5th. That should be good enough for the Dutchman to guarantee himself a place in the second phase of qualifying. Here is Mark, now the new driver in the league, crossing the line, only a 14.38 for Mark. And the Alfa Romeos really looking like they're struggling at this point of qualifying. The bottom 2 drivers of anyone who has set a lap time right now. Oh, and Zola, as we cut on board, he's in the wall. He's lost some of his front wing there. That's turn 9, I believe. Yeah, turn 9 that Zola's lost that. Odd place to lose the car. Not something you see too often. And the Italian needs to get back to the pit sharpish, because he needs a new front wing before he can get back out there and set a lap time, because he is still sitting with no lap time set down in P17. Here is Ollie P, another driver, yet to put a lap time up on the board as he rounds that final corner. Scars up ahead of him. Won't be distracting him too much, though, as he heads up towards the line, already out of ERS deployment, but it doesn't matter too much, as he's managed to slot himself into 7th with a 1:13.777. Good lap time for the British driver in the AlphaTauri. Here is Scars then, the sister teammate in the Red Bull car. We saw him struggle a little bit with a spin out of turn 12 earlier on in the session, and the pressure will be starting to make itself known now to the South African driver. Ooh, big cut through 4, but manages to get away with it. That looked to be pretty well driven, in all honesty, there, as Scars now heads into Sector 2. The chicane, that's AJ getting nice and out of the way for him, cutting the chicane to allow the Red Bull through. A bit of a correction on the exit there, but not the end of the world. Through 9, pushing the car all the way through there, keeping it in a higher gear. 6, keeping it in 6th gear through there. No shift whatsoever through turn 11, now down into turn 12. He was briefly in 3rd before snapping it back up into 4th, almost before he was done with the braking zone. And this time around, he's managed to navigate through this part of the circuit without any oopsies, as he's heading into this final corner and down towards the line. What's it going to be for the Red Bull? Will this guarantee him a spot in Q2? Yes, it will, as he moves just behind Jan Fehler, making it McLaren, Red Bull, McLaren, Red Bull. And we have seen that so many times this season thus far. Then it is Sandro and Peso. That would be a Williams 5-6 if Sandro hadn't jumped ship and wasn't driving for AlphaTauri this weekend. And Peso is interestingly back out there on another lap, even though he's pretty certainly safe up there in 6th with a 1:13.5. Let's see what Riptide is going to be able to do. Both Ferrari drivers yet to set proper lap times in this session. A 1:29 and a 1:31 respectively between Riptide and Zay. Riptide is backed out of this lap as well. He's only really going to get one more shot at this one. Same story for his teammate Zay, who's about to exit the final corner. and start his flying lap. But at the moment, it is Lars Algera, Marinkello, Riptide, Zay, and Zola Zola who are sitting in the drop zone. But of those, 3 of them are yet to set a proper lap time. So we haven't really seen how much danger they are truly in. Here is Lars Algera. At the moment, it would be bittersweet if he's able to elevate himself up the order, because it would put his teammate, his interim teammate, Mark, into the danger zone. But of course, I think Lars will be hoping that Mark can also improve on his lap time. Then you have Matt Havir just ahead of them, KX Ricardo, Cameron Cooper, AJ, maybe Janne Tripkov potentially in trouble as well, as Matt Havir moves himself up into 12th with a 1:13.9. So that probably signals that AJ and Janne Tripkov, they're probably going to be safe with their current situation. Let's see what Lars Algera is going to be able to do, though, out of this final corner. The long turn 14 and up towards the line. Will it be quick enough? Yes, it will, and then some. A 1:13.583. That's a very decent lap indeed from the Canadian in the Alfa Romeo. Riptide, he's pushing just behind. He's only managed a 1:17.9. Of course, we saw him backing out of that lap last time around. Here is Zay as well. He's about to come towards the line. 1 corner left to go for the Aussie. You can see the car lagging a bit over the road there as he now will be the next to cross the line, and that's into 12th, a 1:13.915. That pushes Cameron Cooper into the relegation zone for the time being. Matt Havir is going to be in trouble. Same for KX Ricardo. Same for AJ, who's been out there on 1 set of tyres, and he's only tenuously safe at that. Let's see what Riptide can do. Can he make AJ's day worse? No, he can't. Riptide stays in the bottom 5. He's still going to be pushing down there towards turn 1, but I don't think he's going to have enough in him for another flying lap. Let's see what Zola Zola has in the tank. We've seen nothing from him apart from that spin earlier on as he comes and crosses the line, and he has the pace to match Lars Algera. He moves up into 8th position, and Mark, the newcomer, the reserve driver for the Alfa Romeo, has invalidated his attempt. He might have enough time to go again, but I don't think so. The timer does lie to us. It should be the checkered flag falling, though, before Mark can get around once more. KX Ricardo retires from the session, and there is the checkered flag. Mark will not be able to start another lap. Riptide retires from the session. I think Cameron Cooper is the only driver now who can make any changes, and it's a direct fight between Cameron Cooper in the Mercedes and KX Ricardo in the Racing Point. Let's see what Cameron Cooper's split time is going to be like when he gets out of Sector 2 here. Bit wide through 8. That's going to compromise him all the way through 9. He's had to get off the throttle through 9 because otherwise he would have picked up an invalidation when he ran wide on the exit. 11. He's fighting with the car. He's fractionally up, but at the moment that is not going to be enough for the British Mercedes driver, and he runs wide through 12 once more. Mistake after mistake on this lap for Cameron Cooper, and I just can't imagine that this is going to be enough. Let's see through the final corner and up towards the line for the last time in Q1. It's a 1:14.141. Cameron Cooper stays in 18th, and with that, we have 5 different teams getting knocked out in Q1. It is Matt Havir in the Williams, Riptide in the Ferrari, Cameron Cooper in the Mercedes, Mark in the Alfa Romeo, and Marinkello stone dead last in the Haas. Disappointment for him and for all of those drivers. KX Ricardo, he'll be wiping a couple of beads of sweat off of his brow because it was very close between himself and Matt Havir. But at the end of the day, the Hong Kong driver had just enough about him to see off the threat of the Indian in 60. So as we wait now for Zola Zola in the pit lane to retire, there we go. And in a moment, we will be getting then into the second stage of qualifying, where those 5 drivers will be eliminated. They will not be eligible to take part in Q2. Let's see, it looks like, I think everyone down to the drop-off zone was within 1 second of each other. And I see that fairly often in league racing. I see it somewhat often in Formula X racing, Premier X, but it always amazes me to see it. And you've got to feel so hard done by if you're Cameron Cooper. You're a second away, only a second away, and yet you're 18th on the grid. It's just going to feel so bad. And Mark's going to realize as well what a challenge it is going to be here in Premier X, down there in 19th in his first qualifying. But, of course, anything can happen in the race. And if we have a race as complicated and confusing and fraught with safety car and incident as we have had many times this season, there may well still be opportunities for the reserve driver to make a name for himself. So, the drivers. Now, big decision they're going to have to make at some point in this qualifying session. They are going to have to decide whether they want softs or mediums for their first run here. Few drivers sitting on the medium tyres at this stage, both Red Bulls. Sandro, Peso and Zola also sitting on those mediums, but they're yet to commit to it. They're still just sitting in the pit lane for the time being. AJ is going to be the first one out on track here on soft tyres, and given the fact that he struggled, he only just squeaked his way through in Q1, I'm not too surprised to see AJ, the ex-Alfa Romeo and now Mercedes reserve driver, not surprised to see him going for softs. I think he will imagine that maybe medium tyres would be a little bit of a tall order for himself. Labrax and Luka Witovic also both going out there on soft tyres, so the Renault team very much going in that direction for the time being. Of course, there is always the potential that these drivers will intentionally invalidate their laps or slow down before they get to the finish line just to get a delta for reference for when they go back out on medium tyres later on. That is always a possibility, but I got a feeling there are going to be plenty of drivers setting their fastest lap here today on softs. AJ will be the first one out. He's entering the final sector, warming up the tyres, getting the brakes in the right situation as well, making sure he manages the temperatures. And now it's all about setting it up in this final corner. He runs very, very wide to get a nice cut back through the corner to get on the power nice and early. That'll give him a few extra kph down the straight as he starts his first flying lap of Q2. In Q1, he did set a lot of lap times on the same set of tyres, so perhaps there's more pace in it for AJ than what we've seen. I believe a 1:13.9 was the best he could offer in that first stage of qualifying. So we'll see come the end of this lap where he's going to be relative to that benchmark he has set for himself. Sector 1 looks okay. Let's see it as it's a 26.4 there as he goes pretty cautiously, truth be told, through turn 4, but that can be the way. As long as you avoid the invalidation, you're going to be doing better than a lot of drivers through there. Early turn in for the chicane, riding both curbs, but he's managed to hold the car nicely on the exit, so no real issues there for AJ. It all looks under control for the British driver for the time being. No moments where you think, ooh, is he going to be throwing it in the wall or anything like that? 52.1 coming out of the second sector. Ooh, tiny bit of understeer, sorry, going into turn 12. Bit late maybe on the brakes. And never quite making the apex of 13 either. You can get away with that, though, without it being too much of an issue. Takes a similar line there through 14, and he'll be coming up towards the line now to post the first lap time. And wow, that is miles better, 0.6 better than we've seen from AJ so far. A 1:13.3 to start off proceedings. And I tell you what, that already might well be a time good enough to get him into the third stage of qualifying for the pole position shootout. Luka Witovic has just done a rather odd thing, because he has invalidated his previous lap. He crossed the line. No, I'm sure what this... Okay, never mind. I was about to puzzle over that for a while. I know what that is. I described it earlier. He invalidated that lap. He will use that as a benchmark to get a delta for a medium tyre run, which he will go back out onto once he comes back into the pit lane. That is what I would guess is going to be his story. KX Ricardo there. I think that was a 53.7 through the middle sector, at the end of the middle sector there, so I don't think that's very competitive compared to what we saw with AJ. Of course, KX Ricardo is on these medium tyres, and you can see him fighting the car on the exit of 13. Not fighting it through 14, though. That's all okay as he crosses the line, and yeah, it's a 1:49.63. That is not going to be good enough to make Q3 unless a lot of drivers consistently invalidate their laps throughout this session. Jan Fehler has elected to go out here on softs, interestingly enough, not making the call for the mediums that so many other drivers seem to be doing. Both Valu and Sandro are out there on circuit, as is Peso. All of those guys on those yellow-walled medium tyres. Jan Fehler sticking true to the softs for the time being, a 26.6. That's a couple of... Oh, wow! Oh, and he's lucky if he's got all wheels still on that car. I tell you, that was a heavy impact with the wall for Jan Fehler. And I think his car's okay. He's not DNF'd from the session. And that is a minor, minor miracle for him. And I tell you what, he could not afford to be knocked out of this qualifying session here, because in Hungary, it can be very hard to make your way up through the grid. And that would have just about sealed the championship in Christian Sendel's favor. So, Jan Fehler, oh, he'll be thanking his lucky stars for that one. He has sustained front wing damage. He'll have to go back into the pits. But that could have been a whole lot worse for the McLaren driver. Here then is Peso in the Williams as he heads towards turn 8. Looks good through turn 9. Still looking good there. All the right places on the track is where the Czech is putting this Williams right now. And 52.9 through sector 2. That's a bit more like it, but it's still not going to be anywhere that close to what AJ is able to do. Of course, Peso on these medium tyres, just looking to get the best lap time he possibly can. After sector 2 is about 4 tenths up on where KX Ricardo was. Let's see whether he's going to find any more time on the Hong Kong driver out of this final sector. He finds another tenth or so. It's going to be 5 tenths clear of the racing point, a 1:14.491 for Peso. Valu, after setting what looked like a decent sector 1 time, he has invalidated his lap. The classic invalidation there. Sandro not able to beat Peso out like he did in Q1. This time, the Czech driver is the one with the upper hand. But Sandro, once again, very, very close to him. So the Belgian seems to be getting along well with the Hungaroring here. And that 1:14.5 on mediums. Looks like it's going to be a decent time as far as medium tyre runs are concerned. Let's see if Scars is going to have anything to say about that. He's down about a tenth on what Valu was doing through the first sector. I think maybe down a tenth on what most people on the mediums should be hoping for through that opening sector of the lap. Let's see, let's remember, Peso at the end of the second sector was on a 52.999. Oh, Scars. Oh, holds on to the car. Another moment, and that was a weird sort of recovery there from the South African, but he has held on to the car. And that will mean that lap is going to be very, very much not valid or not useful for the Red Bull driver. And instead, let's take a look at Christian Sendel, who's also deciding to do battle on medium tyres. Both Luka Vitovic and Jan Fehler are out there on mediums as well, after initially using soft tyres for their first attempt. And that's a 26.5. That's a strong first sector for Sendel, but he also invalidates through turn 4. And with only 7 minutes left in the session, some of this is going to be getting to some of these drivers, and they're going to have to make decisions of whether they stick true to the medium tyres or whether they go back out on softs. Because if they have a medium tyre run that isn't good enough, then they're only going to get one proper attempt on those soft tyres. Lars Algera just moved himself up into second with a 1:13.8, but still no one getting anywhere near what AJ has been able to offer thus far. Here is Labrax, who is in the final sector of the lap, and he's deep into 13 there. That's going to cost him a tenth or so, but he did manage to collect up the car nicely. And, of course, the double Dutch team for the Renaults these days. As Labrax comes up towards the line, it's a 1:14.513. It's agonizingly close to both Peso and Sandro, but he can't beat either of them. Luka Witovic goes into 6th just behind him. So the medium tyre runners still yet to crack those mid 1:14s at the moment. And it seems like anyone could go out there on a set of softs and guarantee that they will be faster than all the medium tyre runners. So I don't think anyone's going to have too much luck with these mediums unless other people decide, or everyone else pretty much decides to go on those mediums. Ollie P went for softs, and he's managed a 1:13.6. He's going for glory here in qualifying. And he may well get it if these guys try and stick with these yellow wall medium tyres, because they just do not have the pace to compete with the soft tyre runners at this point. Jane Tripkov, another driver, the latest driver to go back out on medium tyres. As I think Scars just popped himself up into a 1:14.2 there on his second lap on the mediums. That's a bit more like it. It's getting closer. And that would have been a time that would have been competitive with the slowest times we saw from the soft tyres in Q1, but still not really where he'd like to be. So let's see if Jane Tripkov can match that or even go better. And no, he cannot. A 1:14.612 puts him down in 8th position. And even if both McLarens come across the line and Valu as well and set medium tyre runs. You've got to imagine Yanni will be dropping down. He's already dropped down one. There's two as Jan Fehler and Sendel both go into the 1:14.1s. Valu, as you're seeing, has invalidated for a second time, and he'll have to go once more on these mediums, but this really is his final chance on this set of tyres before he is going to have to call it a day and go for the softs instead. And already with 3 laps on this set of medium tyres, that's also going to mean that if this is his starting set of tyres for the race, they're going to have a couple more laps wear than most of his competitors in and around him. Particularly Jan Fehler, who I believe managed to set his lap time on those mediums straight away without needing a second crack at it. So he's going to have nice fresh medium tyres at the start as long as he makes it into Q3 here. But Valu may well not, even if this medium tyre run may or may not be good enough for the Finn. If it is, he's still going to take the pain, and it's not going to be enough because he invalidates again through turn 9, and the Finn is really starting to feel the heat, and that is not going to be what he's accustomed to up there in Finland. They're much used to colder conditions, and the pressure may well be getting to Valu once more. AJ retires from the session. He's sitting up in first. Jan Fehler will be heading back into the pit lane, satisfied with what he's been able to offer with the medium tyres. That 1:14.173, just edging out his teammate Christian Sendel. And they've got a big decision to make as well. They can go back out on soft tyres right towards the end of the session and back out of it if it seems like they're going to retain their position. But if everyone behind them opts to go for softs, and several of them are sitting on soft tyres in the pits right now, then Jan Fehler and Sendel, as good as their laps look right now, may well not be good enough. So they're going to have to play it safe and be cautious and at least burn the first sort of sheen of freshness off of another set of soft tyres. As unfortunately, the rev glitch is happening for the Haas of Zola Zola, so we'll not be able to ride on board with the Haas driver without blowing out eardrums, and I'm sure you'll thank us for not riding on board with him, as he is the only driver yet to set a lap time. Valu yet to set a proper lap time, as he's now back in the pit lane, ready for a set of softs, you'd have to imagine. But Zola Zola hasn't set a lap time at all at this point. The Italian on these medium tyres, backing himself with the mediums as he invalidates. So, now 2 minutes 26. He's got to keep pushing on this in-lap right now. He doesn't look like he is pushing. Maybe he's just going to go again on his mediums, but that would be a very, very brave call indeed, because almost everyone in the pit lane is getting on a set of softs. They're ready to go back out and try again with a new, softer set of tyres to guarantee themselves that spot in Q3. So Zola Zola probably ought to go back into the pit lane and do the same thing right now. So otherwise, he is definitely going to be struggling to make it into the third and final stage of qualifying. He's staying out, though. That is the call then from the Italian Haas driver as he rounds that final corner, and he'll be heading towards turn 1 once again here. 1 minute 38 left on the clock, and he's got to make sure this lap counts as he brakes for turn 1. Hard to tell you how smooth it looks. Seemed like it took a while to see him on the exit of 1 there, but maybe that was just a camera angle as he heads now through turn 2. That's an okay looking line. Through turn 3, remains flat out there on the throttle trace. That's all right. And we'll see what his split time is for sector 1. It's a 26.8. That's not really great, to be honest, from Zola Zola. Meanwhile, Kex Ricardo behind. He's on a 26.3, and that lap's only going to get better for the Racing Point driver because he is on those soft tyres. And just to respond to Babatunde there in chat, Neon is not racing here today, unfortunately, being replaced by Mark in that Alfa Romeo seat for today's races. Kex Ricardo has also invalidated. They keep on coming. The invalidations do not stop. Kex Ricardo will have one more shot at it, though. So at least there is that. That is the saving grace for him right now. Here is Valu, who has gone back out on the set of mediums that he was on before. Jan Fehler and Christian Sendel, they're also back out on mediums. Yanni Tripkov is the other driver who's back out on mediums as well. So these guys are making a very brave call as Zola Zola completes his medium tyre run to go 14th with a 1:15.169. So he is not going to be making it into the third part of qualifying. But I wonder if Valu will be on slightly second-hand medium tyres. still sticking to his guns, sticking with his decision and almost losing the car there through 11, holds on to it, 52.7. That's okay. It's on track for a low 114 right now, in and around where we've seen the two McLaren drivers, and that's exactly where you would expect value to be, but if everyone else continues to improve, then it might not be good enough. Yanni Tripkov has seen the checkered flag, and he's not been able to start his lap in time. So that's a disaster for the Macedonian, who now finds himself knocked out of qualifying as Valu just edges out both Jan Fehler and Christian Sendel. And finally, the Finn posts a lap time, and it is a good one, but will it be good enough? Zay didn't manage to improve on his lap on those soft tyres, so that is great news. Labrax hasn't improved. Luca's backing out of it. He wants to stay outside the top 10. He will just be completing that lap to stay 13th. Christian Sendel improves up to a 13.8 on the medium tyres, and that is comfortably the fastest lap we've seen on that compound. KX Ricardo, is he going to spoil the party for anyone as he crosses the line and moves Labrax down into 11th? So both Renaults out here in qualifying too. Yanni Tripkov, Zay, and Zola will be the cars joining them. Everyone else is home and dry. But do they know it? Sandra Van Sand might want to back out of this one, and indeed, jamming on the brakes out on the final corner, realizes in time that he needs to back out of that lap time to ensure that he will start on the medium tyres. And those who are brave enough to stick with the mediums will be rewarded for their bravery. Labrax, Yanni Trepkov, Zay, Luka Uitovic, and Zola will be the cars who are knocked out here in Q2. Quick note as well to Valu in chat, your drift through turn 11 was on stream. Yes, that was a very, very exciting moment on board with you, as you're saying. Congratulations for holding on to the car through there. And yeah, as Zay is putting there as well, drivers were out there trying to snipe P11, trying to get to that P11 spot. It's always a coveted spot at tracks where the contra strategy starting on the harder medium compound tyre, always a good idea here in Hungary. So starting 11th can be better than starting 10th, but on this occasion, it's likely that whoever's starting 10th will probably be on a set of medium tyres. So it's not actually going to be so much of an advantage as it might once have been. AJ finishes the session then on top with Oli P just behind. They will both have to start on soft tyres, though. That is the price for ensuring they make their way into Q3. Lars Algera and KX Ricardo paying that same price as well, both about half a second away from AJ's ultimate fastest lap time. Christian Sendel separating all those soft tyre runners there. He's looking good here today. And you got Valu, Jan, Fehler, Scars, Peso, and Sandro rounding out everyone who is going to be joining those 5 drivers in qualifying 3. And Valu, Jan Fehler, Scars, Peso, Sandro, and Sendel will get the advantage of starting the race on their medium tyres, some of them a little bit more second-hand than others. So then, as we are once again here for Q3 and into the last stage of qualifying, the pole position shootout here. And let us know in chat who you think is going to be rounding out this one on top. I got to say, it looks like Valu, Christian Sendel, Jan Fehler, those are going to be the prime contenders. Scars in and about as well. But for me, I'm saying Christian Sendel looks like he has this one based on what we've seen so far. Q1 and 2 can sometimes be deceptive. Sometimes we see drivers picking up in form in the last stage of qualifying, having held something back throughout the previous parts. So it's always a possibility that someone will be ready, primed to dethrone Christian Sendel. And let's not forget as well, in that second stage of qualifying, Valu was only 3/10 off of Christian Sendel. As he put it, he was drifting on that lap. We saw one of those moments through turn 11. That must have lost him at least a bit of time. And his medium tyres were 5 laps in, at least 3 pretty much proper flying laps, or at least half of flying laps had been put through them. So potentially, he might be closer to Christian Sendel than it has seemed in that second phase of qualifying. So the first car out there to set a flying lap, I believe, is going to be Sandra Van Sand, as he's flying around the final corner right now. In fact, no, that is not him. It's the other AlphaTauri of Ollie P. Sorry, Ollie, I'm just not used to seeing you in Q3. But here we go then for Ollie P. To be fair, I'm not much used to seeing Sandro in the third part of qualifying either. Maybe a bit more recently. But here is Ollie then into the first corner. We haven't really seen anything from him. He's been just setting lap times without us looking at him. So why don't we give him a little bit of attention on this first flying lap in the third part of qualifying. And he heads through turn 3. Let's see what the split time is going to be at the end of sector 1. We're looking for low 26s. A 26.492, that's not really that great for Ollie. I think he'll have done better in Q2. Peso manages a 26.3. It's a 10th up. It's only a 10th up, to be fair, though, so Ollie P's lap time still might be relatively okay, as Peso, you'd expect to be a driver pushing the top 5 positions on the grid. As here is Ollie once again through the second sector. Wow, really opening up the line there through 11, and it seems to have paid off for him nicely. 52.2 on the exit of the second sector. Peso behind has invalidated. So let's see then what the British driver in the AlphaTauri is going to be able to do. Really tight to the inside there of turn 13. Bit of counter steer on the exit, but won't have lost him very much time at all through the final corner, riding the curb and just jamming the throttle down. It's a 1:13.6. And that's probably good enough for 7th or 8th come the end of this qualifying session. Valu rounding the final corner. He's not invalidated. It's been a clean lap from the Finn as he crosses the line. And we're into the 12s. A 1:12.905 for the Red Bull driver. Once again, looking very promising here in qualifying. Sandro Van Sand. He's seen his teammate do a 1:36.3. A 1:13.6, I should say. As Sandro can only manage a 1:14.1 there. I wonder if he's going to be pushing for a second lap in a row there. Now, KX Ricardo, he's heading back into the pit lane. He's not happy with the way his lap was going. Lars Algera crosses the line, but that was an invalidated lap and one that he backed out of as well. AJ, I think, has lost the car out of turn 1. Unless I'm mistaken, AJ might be in trouble there. There, you can see it. As he manages to get back onto circuit without disrupting anyone. He might have front wing damage perhaps in there, as Jan Fehler, unfortunately, now is the one with the rev glitch. So we're probably not going to be sitting on board with him either in this qualifying session. But here he is, starting his flying lap here in the opening exchanges of the pole position shootout. Through turn 1 he goes. A little bit of a puff of smoke from the front right tyre there as he gets the tiniest little lock-up. You can get away with that one. Car unsettled a little bit on the entry to 2, but it doesn't seem to have harmed him whatsoever through 3. Getting the perfect cut. No help from Christian Sendel. You wouldn't expect it. A 26.3 there. I mean, to be fair, Christian Sendel did get out of the way, but no slipstream offered is what I mean to say. Now, Jan. Oh, he's a bit deep there into the chicane. You could see all the smoke coming off the tyres as he was jamming on the brakes, desperately trying to get it slowed down there. This might not be quite optimal for Jan Fehler, as that probably was a small mistake into the chicane that we just witnessed. Oh, it's fast, though. It is very fast. A 51.8, maybe. That's just the way to drive it, as Jan will be into the final part. Another puff of smoke from the front left tyre this time around through 13. Through 14, he throws it in there. And out of the final corner. Ready to cross the line. It's so close to Valu. He's lost a lot in the final sector compared to Valu, I believe. But that is still a very good lap time from Jan Fehler, a 1:12.9. Christian Sendel. Now he is starting his flying lap. He will be the next one to respond. And I got to say, our main contenders for pole are doing a great job of going one by one here and letting us see all of their flying laps. Scars, meanwhile, he's the dark horse for the pole position. He's currently sitting in 3rd in the Red Bull there. Just half a tenth, or a bit more than half a tenth behind Jan Fehler. And, of course, he's just on his way back into the pit lane. Christian Sendel here through turn 5, using all the road on the exit. That's exactly what you want to be doing. He's less deep than his teammate was. Ooh, but struggling with turn in there. Maybe a bit of oversteer catching in the second part of the chicane. Not great then through turn 7, but 8 and 9 looked all right. Now 11. Ooh, and he has to counter steer again and invalidates on the exit. And you can see that was a 52.3. He was 0.5 of a second down on his teammate Jan Fehler at that point. And that was not a clean lap from Christian Sendel, who was my favourite for pole. He's definitely been my tip for pole. I still reckon he can pull something out the bag here, but the pace has quickened with drivers being there on 1:12.9's pace. So He's only about a 10th down on where Jan Fehler was out of the second sector of the lap. As a bit of traffic with Valu up ahead. Maybe going to be causing a little bit of understeer here in the final corner. As Valu is setting up for his second flying lap. But let's see whether Peso has been able to manage it. He gets a bit of slipstream on the exit. Oh, and he has managed it. Peso with a 1:12.872. I called Scars the dark horse for pole. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it is Peso that has that particular mantle, as he now is at the top. Here then is Valu coming towards the end of Sector 1 for the second time. He's improving. He's improving, and he doesn't need to find much. He's already found enough, but counter steer through 4, catching the slide. That will have lost him a little bit of time. Chicane, neat and tidy. Turn 8, a peach. Now, turn 9. Also good there from on board the Finnish driver. No discernible mistakes through this second sector. And he's fast. Look at it. He's a 10th and a half up on his previous best. If he gets the Sector 3 that we saw from him on that first lap, then he is going to be right back to the top of the order. Oh, that's a big moment. And that's lost all of it there for Valu. And he's back into the pit lane again immediately. He decided he could not scramble that back through the final corner. And he crawls back into the pit lane instead. Oh, and the pressure maybe got to him towards the end of the lap there. He knew he was on track for retaking pole, but he hasn't been able to do it. Now AJ, a bit deep, not really the optimal line through the chicane from the Mercedes driver. And it's all looking just a little bit tentative here to my eyes, through this second sector. And yeah, it's a 52.5 at the end of the second sector for AJ. He's looking at a mid-13 at best, maybe looking to challenge Ollie P's 5th position for the time being. As he drives a bit more of a V-shaped line there through 13 than most. More of a U-shape through 14 than some, as he now heads towards that final corner, and it's a 1:13.7. Cannot displace Ollie P, remains there in P6 for the time being. KX Ricardo is the only one out there on a flying lap right now. He hasn't invalidated. He's still pushing. The chicane looked pretty good, actually, from on board with the Racing Point driver. Not great, though, through 9. I think he would have lost a little bit of time through there. Now 11. Committed. That looked okay. 52.2. It's respectable from KX Ricardo. But it should slot him into the gap between Scars and Ollie P unless he does something different in this final sector. Using all the road on the exit of 13 there. Never really finding the apex of 14. Can set you up for better throttle application on the exit. Maybe a better run to the line, and it's a 13.548. Did lose a little bit more time in that final sector relative to the field, but stays just ahead of Ollie P there, moving himself up into 5th. But you've got to imagine that Ollie will be back out there to respond in just a moment's time. Now, here is Lars Algera as he enters turn 1. For what could be the final time in his Q3. Down towards turn 2 we go. Turn 1 looked all right. Turn 2, he's understeering a little bit away from the apex. He had to get on the throttle later than he would have liked through there. End of Sector 1, it's 26.4. That's not a bad opening sector to the lap. Let's see what Ollie P is doing just behind him. A 26.4, pretty similar there between these two right now. Lars Algera, playing with fire on the exit of turn 7 and through turn 8. Almost picking up an invalidation, but he kept one of his wheels on the black stuff. Not quite making the apex of 11. And it's a 52.3 through the second sector. He's on track for around where KX Ricardo is at the moment. Ollie P, let's see where he's going to be on. A little bit faster, a 10th up. These two are in a pretty direct battle right now, Ollie P and Lars Algera. Let's see which one of them is going to be able to get the faster lap of the two, as now Lars Algera rounding the final corner, crosses the line, and it's a 13.4. That moves him ahead of the Racing Point. Ollie P just behind him on circuit. He'll cross the line, and he doesn't dethrone Lars Algera from 5th, so Ollie P, he's going to be starting no higher than 6th on the grid. Sandra's out there, but I think Valu might be coming out of the final corner, or is that him heading through turn 4? It is him heading through turn 4. And he's up again through that first sector. A 26.2 for the Finn. Chicane looks all right, if a little pedestrian. Turning into turn 8, throwing the car through there. Ooh, and he's wide through 11. That's not going to have helped him too much, but he's still fast. He'll be feeling the pain down towards turn 12, but the braking zone comes nice and early. Now into the final couple of corners, the last two challenges. As the checkered flag has now fallen here in Hungary. The final corner, look how tight he is to the inside line. Valu running towards the line, and he takes it back. A 1:12.652 for the Finn. Can Peso respond? He's not managed it through the first sector. He's down on his previous best time. Jan Fehler's out there as well. Christian Sendel is out there as well. He's going to be the next one of the main contenders to set another flying lap. Round the final corner we go, on board with the German. He's just as tight to the inside as Valu. Loses a little bit on the exit, though. Oh, and it's not fast enough. He's only second is Christian Sendel. This is going to give an opportunity to Scars, who moves up ahead of Christian Sendel. What's Peso going to be able to do? I didn't see his Sector 2 split at all. He's just so struggling to hold on. He gets too greedy on the exit, and he is down and out. That's going to be fourth at best for him. Jan Fehler struggling in sympathy on the exit as well. It's not fast enough. He's down in fifth. It's a Red Bull 1-2 in Hungary. Valu on pole, Scars alongside, then Christian Sendel third. Our championship leader outdoes his teammate Jan Fehler. And to be fair, he'd have loved pole position, but I think that's got what he's got to be watching out for right now. Jan Fehler down in fifth. He'll be starting directly behind his teammate on the grid, Peso, separating the two of them there in fourth. And then a big margin between Jan Fehler's 1:12.9 and the 1:13.4 of Lars Algera, who lines up just ahead of Ollie P in 6th and 7th. But what a thrilling end to qualifying. And Valu taking another pole position. I think that might be his third or maybe even his fourth of the season. Yet to win, of course, but this is a big, big opportunity, not only for the Red Bull team, but for Valu. Sadly, for both the team and the driver, it's come a little bit late in the season to mount any sort of Constructors or Drivers' Championship charge, but Valu would love to record at least one win in what has been a torrid Season 3 of Premier X for the Finn. And there you can see the full order. After Ollie P, it was KX Ricardo, then AJ, and then Sandra Van Sand, who didn't really manage a proper lap time. Not a lap time he'd be happy with, at least in the final part of qualifying. He will be starting 10th. But of course, he does have the advantage of starting on those medium tyres. And we'll see in just a moment's time what everyone outside the top 10 is going to be starting with, what they're going to opt for their choice of tyre compound. Everyone outside the top 10, of course, gets free choice of their tyres. The drivers now are making the final tweaks to their setup and their strategy as the ticks are coming through. So just 20 seconds before we get onto the grid for the formation lap. One second remaining. Time is up. Everyone is locked in now with their settings and with the tires they've elected to prop on their cars. There's Peso in chat saying he's counting restarts. Hopefully, fingers crossed for me, if not for anyone else, but pretty much for everyone, to be honest. We'd love not to have any issues with this lobby. We'd love to have a clean lobby. New lobby host this weekend, so hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will be okay. Touching wood as I say that, by the way. Italian connection power, as my producer, Reed, assures me. He is also the host of the lobby today. And hello to Neon in chat as well. As Cameron Cooper's been disqualified from the formation lap, and so has Riptide, so they will not have their tyres in a situation they would like them in. They're going to have rather cold tyres at the start of the race. They're not going to get great launches off the line. And hello to Neon in chat. I'm also sad you couldn't drive today, Neon. I'm sure you'd have been up there mixing it with the very top of them. And At the moment, it's the two Red Bulls, actually, who you'd be up there fighting with. And then the McLaren's just behind with Peso in the mix as well. And outside the top 10, it's medium tyres for the following. Labrax, Jane Tripkov, Zay, Zola, Matt Havir, and Cameron Cooper. Meanwhile, Luko Vitovic, Riptide, Mark, and Marinkello are all going for the hard tyres instead. And it looks like we might be having that lobby restart. We were talking about it. Because Luka Vitovic is not in control of his car. It is being handled by the AI. He is starting in P14 on the grid. And I believe that means that by the rules, we will be having another restart. Our third one in as many weeks, I believe. In fact, not our third one. We had 3 last week, all on its own, to be honest, I think. We'll just wait and see if we are going to see the start of this race or not. It's not been confirmed if we're restarting just yet. No, in fact, there we go. There is the confirmation of the restart. So we will have a lobby restart here in Premier X. And hopefully the drivers start crashing into each other to make themselves aware of the situation as Luka Vitovic leaves the session. And that should be the indication for the drivers now. And there we go, yeah. Scars making it plenty clear to Jan Fehler that we are going to have a lobby restart. It's a bit of a brutal way of letting everyone know, but I think everyone's going to be getting the message here and now. So now I think with that, we're going to throw to a break, and maybe we can regale you with some highlights from previous weeks of action while we're gone. So hopefully we'll be able to bring that to you to keep you entertained while we get the lobby restart done. But that's a bit of a godsend for Valu, who would have been starting on rather old medium tyres. So that's going to make a bit of a difference for him as well. But for now, we'll be back soon. Nice then, in Monza, finally, with an Alpha Tauri on pole. We wait for the lights to go out for the drivers. A long hold this time around, a very long hold indeed. A concerningly long hold for the drivers here.
I haven't seen a hold this long for a very long while, actually.
And we are underway. Okay, so there we go. I was about to say, maybe it will be a restart, but we get underway and there's already huge contact in the background. That's one of the Red Bulls. I think that might have been Scars into the side. I mentioned that he was going to struggle on those tyres. Luca seems to have been involved, as has Zola, and we have a safety car already, as you can see on that board there. Riptide crashing with Cameron Cooper. He's picked up an issue, and it was Scars off the line with those colder tyres. He's holding them for quite a long time here as Jan Fehler, still warming the tyres on the exit of Parabolica. This might cause havoc further down the field, but he wants to make sure he's not giving enough opportunity for slipstreamers. Now he guns it. Now he goes for it, and Neon is right there with him. So the Dutchman has an opportunity to try and claim the race lead for Alfa Romeo here. He's going to go to the outside of Jan Fehler into the braking zone for turn 1. Jan brakes later and holds the line. He is still up there in first. Luca having a go at Jane Tripkov here as the Renault and Racing Points going side by side, and maybe a bit of wheel banging between them as well. That looks like Labrax is getting shuffled out there behind by Calvin, Mahavir, Cameron Cooper, and Marinkello, who are all involved in this battle right now. There is Calvin alongside Cameron Cooper, and Cameron Cooper actually getting the position. I think Mahavir might be having a go at Cameron Cooper further behind over 6th and 7th right now. In fact, I think that was Cameron getting past Mahavir. There was a car off the road there, and all sorts of action going on between the Alpha Tauris as Mahavir loses another position to his stand-in teammate, or rather he is the stand-in, his teammate, Sink Calvin, who now is already getting up the inside of Cameron Cooper as well. Those hard tyres coming online quickly for the Dutchman in the Alpha Tauri.
Well, the hard tyres are...
Oh dear, Cameron Cooper way too late onto the brakes into the side. Who's that is collected there? Is that his teammate, I think, Connor Eddy?
Well, here's Neon still trying to make moves on Jan Fehler ahead. Jan Fehler, of course, being second in the championship, and this would be a very good...
Oh no! Oh, it's gone wrong again. Calvin involved in another incident, and another one where I got to say it didn't necessarily look like his fault.
Certain, and
Oh, Abrax is round in the final corner, and thankfully Everyone seems to have managed to avoid him there. That would have been an absolute Code Brown moment for Sandro Van Sand, who was able to just about drive around the outside of him. Neon, meanwhile, has come into the pits from what was the race lead. He'll be coming out just behind Jan Fehler on another fresh set of medium tyres. Here is Labrax, who has filtered right back in there. And actually, Neon has been able to jump Jan Fehler in the pits there, the overcut being pulled off. And maybe Neon is now the one in pole position to potentially win this race and is already getting up alongside his teammate, the first one in this train that he needs to dispatch. We saw them working well together in qualifying, and something tells me that Lars Algera wasn't going to be making that too hard for Neon.
Different to the KERS system.
Here we go. Sandro is pretty much bone dry on the battery right now, and that might give the opportunity for Christian Sendel, who forces his way through the inside of turn 2, will force Sandro to give him the space. Sandro runs out of road on the exit and loses out not only to Christian Sendel, but to Neon behind as well. And this could be the golden opportunity for Neon, who tries to go around the outside of Curva Grande. They bang wheels. Christian and Neon down towards Della Rogia. It's going to be Neon on the inside, and the Alfa Romeo is through and ahead. There's contact as he tried to cut off the McLaren on the exit of the corner. And now Jan Fehler's getting past both Sandro and his teammate Christian Sendel all at once. That's Christmas coming early for Jan Fehler there, and the battle between Christian and Sandro will continue further behind. There was a flick of front wing, and that's Christian Sendel maybe into the wall. He just about holds the car, and Luka Witovic coming through as well. I don't know if he picked up front wing damage in the Renault or not. The DRS will open, and Peso has nothing left to defend with by the look of things as Neon breezes past him, but Jan Fehler might be interested in following him through. Indeed, he will do so, but he's not going to send it up the inside of Neon. Meanwhile, here's Christian Sendel onto the rear wing of Labrax. This is the recovery drive for Christian Sendel. He'll move himself back up into 8th. Neon, in his second race in Premier X, the Dutchman manages to claim victory in Italy.
What a spectacular Italian Grand Prix. It wasn't without its controversies, and there's going to be a few things that the stewards have to look at over the weekend. But as you can see, Peso picking up an important P3 for Williams in the Constructors' Championship, and crucially, that's going to give them, I believe, the majority of the points they need on Ferrari.
We'll see about that. There could well be some changes in the championship standings as a result of this. There's Jani Tripkov jumping up to 8th. Great result for Racing Point. KX Ricardo really had a very solid one to come 5th here. I didn't get a chance to talk about it much. There was so much going on at the front. Here are the two Ferraris at their home race. Zay and Riptide running to the line for the Tifosi, putting on a bit of a show in the final corner, but both of them will be finishing down in 13th and 14th. Because here we are for the first race of the season, the Australian Grand Prix here in Premier X Season 3. And the lights go out. We wait for them to go out for the drivers. A long hold, but we are underway here in Australia. It looks like a good start from Valu there, but both Christian Sendel and Jan Fehler, they're going to be alongside each other into turn 1, but it is as you were from the front 3. Vexit challenging Lars Algera behind, but Lars has just been able to hold on to 5th for now. Vexit still sitting down there in 6th. Cameron Cooper, Zola battling at the back, and there is Vexit going for another go up the inside of Lars this time, and he takes the position away from the Alfa Romeo. Connor Eddy also getting past Ben there in that battle in turn 3 as well, but it's still the two McLarens leading from Valu and Peso. As that's Ricardo who's had an issue at the very back. We saw a couple of DNFs here on the exit of turn 12. I don't think that car is moving. That's the exit of turn 4, and we have a safety car. Zola in the Haas crashes out on the exit of turn 4, bringing out the first safety car of the season. We are seeing Peso into the pit, so he's rolling the dice then. The Czech driver in the Williams wants to go for the win today and thinks the best way of doing that is by going the opposite direction to everyone else. Could be any time now. The safety car is in the pit lane, so they can gun it whenever, and out to the final corner it will be for the two Germans in the McLarens leading the way. Vexit's got a good restart, pretty close up behind his teammate Valu there, who is slightly slow at getting back underway. Ice Loop has had an issue as well out of the final corner, and that's Ben going into the pits as well, so he must have picked up front wing damage. Ice Looper falling all the way down. I didn't catch what happened, but we did see the Renault losing it in qualifying at some point out of that final corner before. Chaotic battling here at the back as Sandro, Ricardo, Ice Looper all trying to go side by side here. Sandro desperate to hold on to that position ahead of the Racing Point, but the Hong Kong driver goes all the way around the outside. Beautifully done by Ricardo up into 15th. Jan Fehler into the pits from 2nd.
this is a very, very early pit stop from these soft tyres. So Jan Fehler trying to get off a pretty huge undercut on it to Christian Sendel. Exit, seemingly having more pace, and Valu's lost the rear end. Oh, what a save! That was incredible from Valu. Any other driver would have easily lost the wheel, but somehow Valu has come out of it with no visible damage. Expect him, though, to come into the pits at the end of this lap for a set of hards.
Same for Vexit, both of them going for mediums to the end here, but Labrax, who pitted on the same lap, went for the hards. So difference in decisions, difference in strategy between these drivers right now. Jan Fehler is behind Vexit, by the way, but he's not going to be behind him for too much longer if he has anything to say about it. Looking to try and dive up the inside. It's desperate from Jan, and he can't make the move stick. Vexit holding on to what is effectively P2. Here comes Jan Fehler trying to get past KX Ricardo. Manages to do so in the braking zone there. That is important because Vexit is starting to drive away further up. Sandro wasn't able to quite capitalize as Riptide and Connor Eddy both heading into the pits. Two of the drivers remaining on soft tyres. Ice Looper, the last remaining soft tyre runner, also into the pits. Here's Valu driving clean around the outside of Sandro, and Jeffrey Ritchie follows suit, so keep anyone behind him at this stage. Here's Christian Sendel, and he's not wanting to be behind Peso, and it's around the outside, and it is a clean overtake. Peso with no reply there. Christian Sendel, who's in the firing line. Further up, that's Peso and Cameron Cooper battling side by side. Peso trying to get past and manages to do so around the outside of 4. That is a lovely move there from the Williams. Vexit getting close to them as well. Meanwhile, further back, Ritchie was able to get past Jan Fehler, but here comes Vexit trying to get around the outside of Cameron Cooper, who's struggling now on his 15-lap-old medium tyres.
Still finishes on the podium as here comes Vexit down the inside of Peso, down into Clark chicane. Peso's going to hold it round the outside and holds on to the P4 spot, but here comes a Vexit around the outside of the sweeping left-hander on the run down into turn 11 and 12, but Vexit has to slot in behind once again.
That's wise. You do not want to be trying to go side by side through turn 11. That is an airplane crash waiting to happen. But right now, he might have a look into 13. Tries to go around the outside, but Peso's more wise to that than he was before, showing the door on the exit of that corner there. Meanwhile, further back, Valu and Jan Fehler have both been able to get past Marinkello, the Italian struggling in that Haas right now. But Vexit has been able to dispatch Peso finally into turn 15, it looks like.
Here comes Valu down the inside of Jan Fehler. This is a battle for position, and Valu up to a P7. He pulls off the move, and Jan Fehler is really struggling on those hard tyres.
Showing his nose there to KX Ricardo, who should be a very easy pass here. 18-lap-old hards versus 2-lap-old softs, and the white and navy Alpha Tauri makes its way past the pink racing point.
Jeffrey Ritchie's on Peso right now, and they are battling down into turn 3 side by side. Peso's got the inside into 4, but the Alfa Romeo around the outside. Fantastic battling between the pair of them.
Very, very well done indeed by Jeffrey Ritchie. That's another audacious move that's been pulled off against Peso.
Dean Hamo and Connor Eddy, currently 7 seconds between the pair of them, but these soft tyres are slowly going to get worse and worse. Ollie looks for the inside, but has to switch to the outside on the run down into Clark's chicane.
It's not often you nearly hit the rear end of the car ahead through turn 8, which is a flat-out corner. But Ollie, with a huge difference in track, past Ricardo down into turn 1 or turn 3, if he can't manage it then. Maybe headed into the final corner there. He had to back out of that one a little bit soon because Ricardo had a big moment on the apex. But now this should be easy pickings for the Mercedes on those soft tyres, getting past the racing point. Not actually doing it into turn 1, though. Waiting for turn 3, but surely it is only a matter of... Wait. Where's he gone? Oh no, he was there. He was just so in his wheel tracks, I thought he disappeared and went off-road. But there he is, the Mercedes going around the outside, pulls off the magic trick, and moves up into 12. On his first ever race in Premier X, the first race of Premier X Season 3, we knew the McLarens would be strong, but we didn't know that Christian Sendel would be this strong. He wins the race by a margin of 12 seconds down to Vexit. That will become 15 seconds once Vexit's time penalty is factored in as well. Vexit with a solid drive to second, but he'll be disappointed to see himself so far behind Christian Sendel. Here comes Jeffrey Ritchie with a great drive to third and a podium slot. Jan Fehler manages to salvage fourth after a race that really didn't go his way. And Valu falling all the way down into eighth, will be able to stay ahead of Riptide, but nevertheless, a really poor start to his title defense for the Finn. Ollie P on the Contra Strategy manages 10th, and Labrax will come home in 11th, just ahead of Cameron Cooper after penalties are factored in. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that little throwback to our first round of the season back in Australia. And we kind of saw the writing on the wall with Christian Sendel's season back then, but every race after that, it didn't go so well for Christian for a little while. If you're new here, he started off with that absolutely banging race back in Australia where he dominated the field. And then a few races where he didn't really manage any podiums, anything like that. Then he got back on it a bit later in the season, and we have managed to get to a situation where he is leading the championship by a fair margin. 310 points, plays 271. The lower number is that of Jan Fehler at the moment. We have the lobby restarted, and we should be able to get back into it in just a second here. I believe we're only going to have 19 drivers lining up on the grid this time around, so sorry about that. I think Mahavira Gunnathan is not going to be able to make it to this second lobby. So sadly, we will not see him starting. He would have been down there in 16th position in the Williams. As a result, those cars that were behind him are going to move up the order. And that includes, let's see if I can remember off the top of my head. It includes Riptide. It includes Mark. Two other drivers. Riptide, Mark, Marinkello, and there's one more between Riptide and Mark, who I cannot remember. Hold on. Cameron Cooper. Cameron Cooper will be the last one of those drivers. In between those two, I remember the order. I just forgot that Cameron Cooper was the missing piece in the puzzle. But as it happens, those are the drivers that will benefit one position on the grid, thanks to the non-appearance of Mahavir in this second lobby. And as you can see, we are starting the formation lap once again. Valu and Scars there at the front. Glorious sight for the Red Bulls. Not one we've seen hardly at all this season. We should have seen it much more back when Vexit was here as well. But Scars has filled his shoes very, very well indeed. Scars has been a very impressive surprise, frankly. His first reserve race was good, but he seemed like he had the pace of a Peso level driver. But since then, he's been consistently top fouring in qualifying since he got that full-time Red Bull drive. And yeah, nice to see him on that front row once again here today. And there is Christian Sendel, the man that did so well back in Australia. Starting third. There's a very long run down towards turn one here. So potentially, he could think about trying to make a move on either of the Red Bull drivers once we get to that first corner. We'll see whether he's going to do that or not. It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't really want to either, because, you know, he can afford to play it safe at this point with the championship standings as they are. Christian Sendel might want to be a little bit more cautious than others would perhaps be in his shoes. Jan Fehler, though, he's not someone who can afford to be cautious. He is going to be very much trying his hardest to do what he can out there and to try and steal some positions away off the start line on that long run down towards turn one. Outside of the top 10 this time, we have Labraxiani, Tripkov, Luka Witovic, Riptide, Mark and Marinkello all on hards. Cameron Cooper, Zola, and Zay are the three outside of the top 10 who have opted for the medium tyres. And now we are lining up on the grid once again, as Mark and Marinkello take their spots at the back of the grid. There they are through that final corner. It's the two Red Bulls at the opposite end. At the very front, the Finn Valu on pole from the South African Scars alongside. Christian Sendel, our championship leader, just in behind. As we are underway here for round 10 of Premier X Season 3 in Hungary. And look at the start already for Scars. It's not a good start at all. And once again, Scars is swallowed up at the start of the race. You can see him braking a bit later, maybe threatening contact with the AlphaTauri there, but he's lost 5 positions off the start. Meanwhile, I believe that's Christian Sendel in second, and Jan Fehler looking to move himself up into third here as he's up the inside of Peso. Peso will have the inside line for turn 3, but it's going to be inside for 4 that's going to make all the difference, and that is the one that belongs to the McLaren driver. And now, all of a sudden, from a Red Bull 1-2, it's now a McLaren 2-3 with Valu looking nervously in his rear-view mirrors at the 2 orange cars just behind him, and they are definitely going to be a major presence in that rear-view mirror. And now you can see a lot of soft tyre runners in and about there. There was a Ferrari and a Racing Point battling. I think that will have been KX Ricciardo maybe battling with Riptide down there. Oh, and there's actually Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri going side by side here. It's going to be Lars Algera trying to defend from Ollie P. He got the jump off him at the start and has managed to, or rather he qualified ahead of him, I should say. And he's managed to stay ahead of the AlphaTauri for the time being. They are the two drivers who are just ahead of Scars. And he's the one who wants to make some progress up through the field right now. It seems like Zay has had a poor start to the race. He's down in 18th in the Ferrari. Luka Witovic's lost a little bit. Riptide and Cameron Cooper have gained off of that start. So has Zola. He's found himself up into 11th right now. And it looks like Zay is having an even worse continuation to this race start as he loses out again and has front wing damage there on the Ferrari. And it's end plates on both sides. So that's going to be a lot of pace lost for Zay in that Ferrari. He's probably going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. I don't know if he made contact with another driver as KX Ricciardo is demoting Scars down yet another position there. And Scars' race is going from bad to worse right now. He's just about fending off the Hong Kong driver and he will remain ahead. But it's hairy stuff. He's on those mediums and these guys on the softs, these tyres are better for the first few laps of the race. And because we had a full lobby restart, they're going to be fresh soft tyres as well. And therefore, they are going to last a little bit longer than you would usually expect. So Scars, the onslaught is not over for him yet. The pain not over for the Red Bull driver who started second, had such a wretched launch off the line. He had a wretched launch in Italy, ended up with him DNFing straight away. This time he didn't DNF, but he did lose 5 positions. Meanwhile, out at the front, Valu still leads the way from Christian Sendel. Jan Fehler in there in third, then Peso, Lars Algera, Ollie P, Scars, KX Ricciardo, AJ, and Sandro. The top 10 drivers at the start of the race are still the top 10 drivers, but they are very much not in the same order as we found them on the grid. Zay is now into the pit lane for Ferrari. That damage was too much. He can go onto a set of hard tyres at least. I don't know. I don't think those hard tyres would be able to make it all the way to the end of the race if that is what he goes for. And no, it's a second set of mediums for the Ferrari driver. So he's committing to having to stop at least once more in this race. And with a 29-second margin between himself and the next lowest driver in Maranello, Zay has got a mountain to climb to score any decent points here today. Christian Sendel looks to be closing in on Valu a little bit as this lap has progressed. He's been edging closer to the Finn at the lead of this race. Peso starting to maybe fall away a little bit. He was briefly outside of a second there of Jan Fehler. He falls outside of a second once again. Jan himself may be struggling to be strung along by his teammate and by Valu. You can see that Christian Sendel looks like the one with the agency right now. With that DRS open, he was getting closer to the rear end of Valu before turn 1. Not close enough to make a move. Further back, KX Ricciardo and Scars are very close together once again. It looks like KX Ricciardo might be sending himself up the inside of Scars in turn 2, but no. Scars still maintaining that position ahead of the Racing Point. But he himself, he's outside of DRS range of Ollie P. And unless he gets back into it by the time the DRS comes around, the next lap comes around, Scars might find himself a sitting duck to KX Ricciardo. And that's going to be frustrating for him if that happens, because it's only a couple of laps before Scars is going to have the better tyres in that pairing. And that is going to be a lot of pain if he's going to be stuck behind the Racing Point on those soft tyres once they start to degrade. Sandro, meanwhile, he's also constituting a bit of a break in the DRS train right now, down in 10th. 1.2 seconds separating himself and AJ, who is doing a good job, actually, AJ here. He's first race back in Premier X for a long time for the Mercedes driver, the interim Mercedes driver, and he is giving KX Ricciardo a bit of a run for it right now in 8th and 9th, both of them bottled up a little bit behind Scars, but Scars was able to get DRS back, I believe, on Ollie P at least, although he doesn't actually have it open, so maybe not. And there behind, you see AJ going for the move up the inside of KX Ricciardo there. He has the move into turn 1, and through the exit, he shows KX Ricciardo the door, and the position has been gained. So AJ, taking advantage of the fact that a lap ago, KX Ricciardo used a lot of his overtake to try and get past Scars, the extra electrical energy was enough for AJ to be able to get one over on the Racing Point driver, and AJ moves himself up into 8th. Further behind, Yanni Tripkov picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. He's not the first in this race. Oh, Riptide has lost it there. You can see he lights up the rear tyres as he gets going again. But he's lost a lot of time with a spin through turn 5. That's very easy to do. If you get any of your tyres on that inside curbing, it can throw the car out in a violent way. And now it's a Ferrari 18th and 19th right now for them. Not a good race for the Italian team. Back out at the front, we have Valo leading from Christian Sendel. Sendel getting closer and closer. Oh, and you feel he doesn't need too much more to maybe think about taking first position away from Valo right now. At a track that's hard to overtake, this is a statement of intent from Christian Sendel to be getting this close. That's a big deal for the German driver. He is driving well out here in the opening few laps of this Hungarian Grand Prix. Despite a very promising qualifying session, Peso is now almost 2 seconds away from the McLaren drivers up ahead, as Jan Fehler is also closing in on the front pairing. Valo seems to maybe be the slowest driver of this front 3 right now. Okay, so with the amount he's losing, I wonder if he's got a little bit of front wing damage. I mean, these are three very, very quick drivers, so it's possible the Czech driver just cannot quite live with their pace right now, and indeed, that front wing looks pretty intact to me. So I think Peso just cannot quite find enough in the tank to keep up with Valo, Christian Sendel, and Jan Fehler out at the front. And nevertheless, he's still building his gap to Lars Algera and Ollie P, both of whom have picked up 3-second time penalties on the last lap around. And it seems like there has been a crossover now between the mediums and the softs. Indeed, Ollie P already getting rid of those soft tyres. He's heading into the pit lane, the first one to make a scheduled pit stop in this race. And that's going to be good news for Scars, who wants to see all of those soft tyre runners getting out of his way as quick as possible. He'll be hoping that Lars Algera responds to the attempted undercut here from Ollie P on the next lap. And that will give Scars some free air to look to close down Peso and look maybe to see if he can re-inject himself back into that fight for the lead. And if Valo and Scars are working together, there's always a possibility that Valo could try and hold up the McLarens. Maybe if he can manage to do so without getting overtaken, it's a circuit where that is possible. And if he does that, he could be the one to make sure that Scars can be a problem for these McLaren drivers and maybe sneak a podium away from them. We could see some long-distance teamwork then between the Red Bulls. It would be hard to orchestrate. It would be risky, hard to make it work. And if you're Valo, you've got to feel like you want to drive just flat out when you're out in the lead of this race to try and make sure that this race will be yours. He wants that win so badly. He will need that win here. It will be his first win in Season 3 of Premier X if he can make it. And after picking up win after win in Season 2, Valo will be very much missing the feeling. A couple of weeks ago, after the French Grand Prix, when he got that podium, I spoke to him after the race, and he said that he wasn't really happy to be on the podium because it was just happening too late. It wasn't quick enough. Further behind, Scars, his teammate, has been able to dispatch Lars Algera into turn 1. Lars didn't head into the pit lane. Kex Ricardo has. He's going onto a set of hard tyres, just like Ollie P. Interestingly, Ollie actually came out behind Riptide. Kex Ricardo will be behind the pair of them as well, of course. And Riptide is actually maybe scuppering Ollie P's attempts here at an undercut onto Lars Algera, sorry. If Lars can run still decent pace on these softs, he might be going faster out there than Riptide is doing. And that might just be enough to help him to maintain position ahead of Ollie P, despite the fact that he's pitting a couple of laps later at least compared to the AlphaTauri driver. Apologies. Dealing with a few issues here as I'm solo commentating. My vocal cords are starting to feel worse for wear. Lars Algera now is heading into the pit lane as Ollie P and Riptide are battling further back. And that could be very important, actually, because if Ollie is battling Riptide right now, in the short run, that's going to lose him more time than if he just stuck behind the Ferrari till the end of this lap. And that might be what makes a difference in the battle between himself and Lars Algera. You can see Lars leaving the pit lane just up ahead. But no, Ollie P will comfortably get the position in the end. Lars couldn't quite come out in time. And Ollie looks to go around the outside here of Riptide, who goes defensive in towards turn 1. The cutback is available for Ollie P. And there you go. He's looking for the outside of 2. That'll be the inside of 3. Trouble is, unless you get that move done and dusted before 4, you always lose out with the outside line through there. And indeed, Riptide can shut the door. Ollie P stays in 16th. And that's going to mean that Lars Algera and probably even KX Ricardo are just going to beetle right up to the back of this battling pair. AJ, meanwhile, he's still out there on soft tyres. The last soft tyre runner to still be out there on that set of tyres. 3 seconds is the gap that separates himself and Scars. And ever since Scars got past Lars Algera, he's not exactly closed down Peso in a hurry. Here out at the front, you see Christian Sendel getting closer than he's ever been, braking later as well than Valu. You could see him locking up, struggling to slow that McLaren down in the dirty air that was taken off of that front wing. As still, it is Valu leading the way, but Christian Sendel showing a lot of intent, showing a lot of signs of life there in second. Jan Fehler close in third. He doesn't like being in third necessarily. You feel, when you're the guy in third, you often feel that you don't really have control of the situation. The guy in second tends to have the agency in these sorts of battles. But Jan Fehler will know that if any mistake is made by his teammate, or even by Valu, he'll be in prime position to take advantage of that fact. If they come together into turn 1 in the next couple of laps, that would be an absolute treat for Jan Fehler there. But for now, he's just going to have to bide his time and sit there in third. It's way too early. Well, I mean, it's probably too early to go for an undercut. He could be going for mediums to softs here, but if he tries to go for mediums to hards, he could theoretically try and pull an undercut on his teammate, but I don't know if that is going to be the right call for Jan Fehler at this stage of the race. There's plenty of hard tyre runners down the bottom end of the field that would cause a lot of traffic. There would be no clean air out at the back as Ollie P and Lars Algera are finding to their cost right now. Still bottled up there behind Riptide in 14th. Ahead of Riptide, 4.6 seconds up the road is Mark, who himself has about 4.5 seconds between the Alfa Romeo stand-in and Marinkello, who's running in 12th, and then a further 3 seconds between Marinkello and Luka Vitovic. So at the back of the field, we are seeing a lot of gaps being strung out between these drivers. But then Cameron Cooper is driving a bit of a train of himself, Yanni Tripkov, and Luka Vitovic. Here is Lars Algera looking to make the move to regain the position ahead of Ollie P, and indeed he does so. They're both bottled up, and there is Ollie sending it back up the inside of 2. There might have been a bit of contact between the 2 of them there, but they both live to fight another day. That was KX Ricardo getting a bit leery on the exit of the corner as he looked to try and take a wide line through 3, and as a result, AJ will snap up that position at his expense. These are the 4 guys that started the race on soft tyres inside the top 10, and the battling is frenetic. AJ gets past KX Ricardo, and Lars Algera dispatches Ollie P as well. All the while, they're all still just stuck there behind the Swede in the Ferrari. Riptide maintaining position in 14th. Speaking of Swedes and Ferraris, if you think back to real F1, I'm pretty sure there's only ever been one Swede who drove a Ferrari. And I think that is Stefan Johansson back in the mid-1980s. So there's a little fun fact for you if you like it. Riptide following in the footsteps of Stefan Johansson, who I'm pretty sure was Swedish. There's a possibility, there's an outside chance he's Norwegian, I'll be honest, but I'm pretty sure he's Swedish. Oh no, and I'll stop talking about that because there is a huge incident there as Lars Algera loses it in a major way out of the final corner. That was Ollie P who went into the side of him. And I'm not sure whether Lars picked up front wing damage even in the end, but Ollie certainly did. He's lost that front left end plate. And there's a lot of right-hand corners around here, so that's a disaster for Ollie P, who lost position as well to AJ and KX Ricardo, who I believe both got through unscathed. But it seemed to me that Lars Algera just got a little bit too greedy on the throttle on the exit of that final corner. It's a very slippery traction zone at the best of times. And maybe he was looking to just get a little bit more out of the car, out of those rear tyres, to try and get the edge over Riptide on the run down towards turn 1. The rear tyres were screaming enough. They said, you cannot be serious. And they gave up on him on the exit of that corner. And unfortunately for Ollie, he tried his hardest to avoid the situation, but he could not pull a Sandro from last week when he avoided Labrax out of the final corner in Parabolica. And Ollie, unfortunately, went straight into the side of Lars Algera. Labrax, meanwhile, he's been able to dispatch Zola Zola. That's the battle over 7th and 8th. As Sendel, Christian Sendel, sets his personal best first sector by a couple of tenths. He's gunning it right now. He's looking to try and take the position away from Valu. I wonder if that signals that maybe the pit stops might be coming soon. Maybe they're thinking about the hard tyres right now. They could still be waiting for a safety car situation. No safety car as a result of the incident between Ollie and Lars. And they are both heading back into the pit lane. Medium tyres for the pair of them. Or at least for Ollie P. And you've got to imagine he's going to try and go to the end of the race on that set. AJ picks up a 3-second time penalty as he's trying to catch up with Riptide. And the Swede is still holding station there in 14th. No one has been able to get past right now. He's holding the door admirably. And there is Christian Sendel into the pit lane. He will be the first one of the front 3 to pull the trigger. This is an opportunity for himself to try and get a major outlap going here. But it is going to be the hard tyres, and sometimes those take a little while to warm up. So maybe Jan Fehler can look for the overcut here. Maybe Valu can try and defend his position by going faster on these mediums on this in-lap. You've got to imagine that both Valu and Jan Fehler will probably be heading into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Christian Sendel does come out in clean air, and that could be critical. 3.1 seconds is what he has to play with between himself and this battling pair up ahead of him, which is Jane Tripkov in 9th and Luka Wietevik, who is currently in 10th. They are both in that DRS train that is formed behind Luca's teammate Labrax. It's topped and tailed by Renault drivers for the time being. Here is AJ finally managing to make a move on Riptide. A bit of contact between the pair of them through 2. And oh, more contact between the pair of them through 3. And Riptide and AJ both go round. That is not the way the battle should have gone between the two of them. And KX Ricardo will say thank you very much and moves into clean air and up into 14th. But it is still going wrong again for the Ferraris. 2 major incidents from the guys who started on soft tyres and also with Riptide as well, who's struggling with those warmed-up tyres. There's Jan Fehler. He didn't go into the pit lane. Valu did, but Jan Fehler set his fastest lap of the race, the fastest lap of the race, and maybe he's pulling off the overcut here, and he's staying out another lap still on that set of medium tyres. Valu, Peso, Sandro, and Zola Zola all into the pits to get rid of their medium tyres. They want hard tyres right now, but is Jan Fehler pulling off the masterstroke here? That was incredible to see him setting the fastest lap right there, and he might be doing enough. Look at his battery charge. He's been using a lot of it on that last lap to try and gain as much time as he can over and above his teammate. Meanwhile, Valu has come out of the pits ahead of Christian Sendel, and both of them are starting to get into that DRS train of cars ahead of them, so they're not going to be having much pace now. And maybe Jan Fehler can afford to stay out even more because these guys, they're going to be driving at the pace of Luka Wietevik, Jane Tripkov, and Cameron Cooper up ahead. Riptide will DNF from the race in the pit lane. He's done with this one. 2 major incidents, and that's enough for the Ferrari driver. Sorry to see him go in this one. It hasn't really been his race ever since qualifying. Ollie P, meanwhile, picking up the fastest lap, I think that was, down there in 17th. Or was that just a corner cutting penalty? Not sure which. He's on fresh medium tyres, though, so it could well have been the fastest lap of the race there for Ollie P. Indeed, it was the fastest lap. So he takes it away from Jan Fehler, and Jan Fehler is being very, very brave right now. He stays out. Once again, another rotation around the Hungaroring for him, as both Scars, Cameron Cooper, and indeed Marinkello all heading into the pit lane behind him. Marinkello is going to be going on to mediums to the end of the race. Meanwhile, it's going to be Cameron Cooper and Scars onto fresh, hard tyres. Where are they going to filter out relative to these drivers? Scars will, of course, be out there behind Peso still, more or less as you were for those drivers. Cameron Cooper has lost out to Zola Zola there. I think Zola Zola was running around ahead of him, actually, before the pit lane. So Zola Zola maintains position there. They've both managed to jump AJ, who was, of course, involved in that incident with Riptide a few laps ago, which definitely explains that. There's only 3 seconds between Zola Zola and KX Ricardo. Ricardo is going to have older hard tyres, 7 laps of age difference between himself and that chasing couple of cars there. So Ricardo might find himself under pressure as we get towards the end of this race. Meanwhile, this is now the Jarne Tripkov train after Cameron Cooper came into the pit lane. Valu and Christian Sendel have not been able to make inroads at all with these cars right now. And Jan Fehler is still staying out there. I just wonder if maybe he's going mediums to softs in this one, going a different way on strategy. You've got to imagine that if he was going to pit for hards, he would have already done it. There, up ahead, that was Luca looking to take the position off of Jarne Tripkov. And that means that there's not going to be an opportunity into turn 1, but there might be an opportunity into turn 2 for Valu. And there's yellow flags there. Contact between Jarne Tripkov and Christian Sendel as Jarne gets shuffled down. He loses not 1, not 2, but 3 positions potentially here as he gets pushed a little bit wider by Christian Sendel. And as a result, Jarne does lose out on all 3 of those positions thanks to the move from Luka Witavik. Valu and Sendel get ahead of one of their quarry, but they have another car ahead of them still. Another one limiting their pace for a whole nother lap here. Luka running around in 4th for the time being. His teammate Labrax is doing a good job up in 2nd. Both of them yet to pit in this race. And Luka is being a very effective rear gunner for Labrax in this one. Valu is still ahead of Christian Sendel. Didn't lose position to the German in amongst that chaos. And finally, Jan Fehler does come into the pit lane. So, surely this is going to have to be hard tyres for him. And indeed it is going to be. There are those white-walled hard tyres for Jan Fehler. And maybe he knew that this was going to be the time that Valu and Sendel were going to be getting past Luka Witavik. And has he left it too late? He's coming out of the pit lane. He'll come up alongside of them, but it's not enough for Jan Fehler. He stays behind Christian Sendel. He has fresher tyres, not by a huge margin, but they are fresher all the way to the end of this race. And maybe he can look to try and apply some pressure to his teammate and to our what will be our race leader once Labrax comes into the pit in the form of Valu. Marinkello setting the fastest lap of the race on his fresh medium tyres. Jarne Tripkov and Luka Witavik both headed into the pit lane, and they're coming out in and around Sandro Van Sand. Luka is actually battling with Sandro, and he's looked to hold off the attempt of the reserve driver driving this weekend for AlphaTauri. So it's not gone too well for them in terms of their pit stop strategy, but the ray of shining yellow light for them is the fact that they are on those similarly coloured medium tyres right now, so they should make more progress up through the race before the end of this one. Labrax picking up a 3-second time penalty while in the lead of the race. Looks like he ran wide on the exit there of turn 12. On his in-lap, he was pushing as hard as he could to try and get the margin. He's going to be ahead of AJ and probably behind Cameron Cooper once he comes out of the pit lane here, provided he has a clean pit stop. And from there, he will have medium tyres to gun it to the end of the race. So Labrax should be looking at a solid top 10 position once again. He's been the king of top 10 as it is the mediums for him. Valu still leading the way from Christian Sendel, then Jan Fehler. Kex Ricardo will get ahead of Labrax. Jarne Tripkov, no, sorry, that's Mark, heading into the pit lane there. For a second, I thought Jarne was in trouble. Labrax comes out ahead of Cameron Cooper, but only just, and he's right in around Zola right now. Meanwhile, here is Jarne Tripkov battling with Sandro Van Sand, and he takes the position away. Jarne on those fresh medium tyres, able to get past the aging hard tyres of Sandro's car. I say aging, they're only 3 laps old, but they're older and they're more significantly harder than the tyres on Jarne's car right now. Out at the front, it is once again our de facto race leaders. It is Valu from Christian Sendel, from Jan Fehler, and then Peso still running around in 4th. He's losing time a little bit to the front 3 and also losing time to Scars, but they're both well enough adrift that barring any penalties, barring any incident, Valu, Christian Sendel and Jan Fehler should be our top 3, should be our podium sitters for this race. And these guys have had almost nothing to separate them in terms of pace throughout this entire race, these entire 20 laps we've seen so far of the Hungaroring. Further back, I think Labrax is going to be making move on Zola down the main straight in towards turn 1. And there he goes. It's a wave by in the end with the better tyres. Labrax comfortably making that position on the Italian. Next up the road is KX Ricardo, and then an enormous gap of 10 seconds. Labrax has that 3-second time penalty, of course, but once he gets ahead of KX Ricardo, and you've got to imagine that's a matter of when and not if, he will be able to absolutely gun it into that free air and should be able to build up the gap he needs to stay ahead of the cars behind, even once penalties have been factored in. There you can see the penalties throughout the field. Most drivers on 3 seconds. Mark currently sitting on 6 seconds down in 15th right now. He is between the two AlphaTauri drivers. Sandro, meanwhile, has lost out another position to Maranello on that last lap. Maranello also on those medium tyres. It seems like the guys that started on the hards and went for the mediums, that strategy is more or less working out for them, with the exception of the likes of Mark and Ollie P, because they have had incidents affecting their race. And Mark just hasn't quite had the pace of the rest of the Premier X field here today. But it is, of course, only his debut race in Premier X. Plenty more to come from the reserve driver, I'm sure. Here is Labrax then, looking to dispatch KX Ricardo with efficiency. The first opportunity knocks for the Renault driver, and he takes it immediately further behind Luko Itovic. Similar story as he gets past Cameron Cooper into turn 1. Jane Tripkov emulates the Renaults by dispatching AJ into the first corner as well. And the medium tyre runners, they're making light work of everyone on the hards right now. The differential in performance of those tyres working wonders for everyone who can take advantage of it. Labrax now has that 10.5 seconds of clean air. I doubt he's going to be able to catch up with Scars and Peso come the end of this race, especially as those mediums will be getting pretty worn towards the end. But he will be able to build up that 3-second gap to the hard tyre runners behind. As long as Luca doesn't get past them too quickly, Labrax should be nailed on for P6 here. And if he manages a 6th place finish, Labrax will actually match his best finish of the season. Twice he has finished 6th, both much earlier in the season than this. Here at the front, though, Christian Sendel. It was close again down towards turn 1. And every time I see it, I think, oh, is he making the move? And there's never quite enough time, never quite enough space, enough yardage on that main straight for Christian Sendel to quite pull alongside. Not the story, though, for Luko Itovic, who has plenty of room, plenty of straight line speed, and moves himself ahead of Zola and into 8th position. Valu leading the way. Christian Sendel second, all over the gearbox of that Red Bull. He'll have the imagery of that rear wing reaching him in his dreams or nightmares at the end of this race. And whether he'll be dreaming tonight or having nightmares will depend on whether he's able to get past the Red Bull driver up ahead. He hasn't managed to do it in 22 laps of racing so far, but there's still time in this race. Trouble is for him, there's 1 lap of extra freshness on those tyres of Valu. Jan Fehler behind has a couple extra laps on the pair of them, but still, it's so hard to make moves when you're the guy in 3rd, and there's a DRS train up ahead. Sendel gunning it, getting closer. You can see Jan Fehler clearly not deploying his overtake down the main straight there. He's farming up the overtake mode. He's down at 35 right now, which would explain why he wasn't using it. He needs to catch up to these guys. We saw that Jan was using a lot when he attempted his overcut. Valu is critically about 20% below where Christian Sendel is right now in his battery charge. And that could make all the difference between them once we get into the dying laps of this race. Further back, Luko Itovic has been able to get past KX Ricardo. The Renaults are now sitting 6th and 7th, and they are doing the best of the guys who are currently on the medium tyres. Cameron Cooper battling with Zola and gets past in a straight-up fight between the two guys on hards. There is Jane Tripkov behind, looking to try and find a way through any way he can, but he's not going to be able to do it into turn 5, actually getting inside of the car. Zola briefly there. And there you can see Maranello thinking about moves behind as well. You can see just how impatient everyone on these medium tyres is. Every chance they get, they're showing their nose, trying to make it clear to the hard tyre runners that I am coming past, whether you like it or not, in the next couple laps. So maybe don't fight it so hard. Trying to get the signal, trying to get the mind games coming through as well. Sandro starting to fall away from this particular battle. This has been more like the early season races we've seen from the Belgian rather. Not like what we've been seeing from him in recent times. Oh, and there's contact. Jane Tripkov into the back of Zola. and the front wing goes flying. Most of it is still intact, but he's missing an end plate, and critically for Janne, it is the left-hand end plate. He's going to try and make the move anyway into turn 1. It's rude from Janne Tripkov. He pushes Zola out wide. Oh, and that was dodgy from Janne, I gotta say. Didn't leave much on the table, didn't leave much space. Meanwhile, further back, Marinkello really going for it on AJ as well. AJ, canny enough to defend from the Italian for the time being. He'll have the inside for turn 4, and that means that Marinkello cannot hope to make the move on this lap unless he sends a dive bomb up into the chicane of turn 6. Not going to be close enough on this occasion either. Zola picks up a 3-second time penalty after getting passed there by Janne Tripkov. He's not going to be a happy man. He's not having a good lap there in the Haas. Back out at the front, though, we have Valu from Christian Sendel. And Christian Sendel, he's not using that overtake. He's still getting closer with the help of the DRS, but he is still holding on to that battery charge. He's been able to extend his margin over Valu in the battery percentage from 20% now to 30%. He's tacked an extra 10% on to that particular margin. Further behind these guys, Peso is falling into the clutches of Scars right now. No one in the top 5 has time penalties, but Scars has slowly and surely been closing in on Peso since they got onto hard tyres. And the South African is right in the rear view mirror of the Williams driver. Zola and Janne Tripkov are battling once again, and Janne with that wing damage. He got past Zola a lap ago, and now he's losing the position straight away again. Heartbreak for him as he couldn't adjust his braking point into turn 13 for the braking point of the guy on hards, who's not going to have as much grip. And as a result, picking up that front wing damage. And he'll feel like it's not his own fault, of course. But he's going to struggle to hold off the likes of AJ, Marinkello, and Sandro behind. As Sandro, with that incident between Zola and Janne Tripkov, has been able to reattach himself to this particular DRS train. The leaders, once again, heading down towards turn 1 by the look of things, but they are all staying pretty much as you were. Half a second between Sendel and Valu. Half a second between Jan Fehler and Sendel. Half a second, more or less, between Scars and Peso as well. It seems like unless you have a significant tyre differential or a significant pace advantage, it is really still very, very hard to get past here at the Hungaroring. AJ, meanwhile, has a pace differential over Janne Tripkov because of the difference in wing between the two of them. Janne having that damaged front wing means that he loses another position down into 12th for the Macedonian. It's Marinkello up next. And with Marinkello being a fellow medium tyre runner, you've got to imagine it won't be too hard for the Haas driver to get past as well. And there is Mahavir, not quite in time to take the start of this race, unfortunately, for Mahavir. As there was Marinkello almost rear-ended there by Sandra Van Sand, who got very, very hot on the brakes in towards the chicane on this occasion. Thankfully for both drivers, though, Sandro was able to get out of that one. You can see just how much slower Janne Tripkov is with that wing damage now. He was the fastest car in this train a couple laps ago, and now you can see how much he's holding up Marinkello and Sandro. And that's the trouble with this circuit, is if you're going to get past, you've got to do it into turn 1, maybe into turn 2. And after that, you're stuck behind a car. No matter how slow they are, you're pretty much guaranteed to be stuck behind them for a whole nother lap. And there is Marinkello getting past, but you can see he's lost over a second to AJ up ahead. Janne Tripkov is causing perforations throughout the field as each driver passes him. Every time a driver has to spend a lap behind him, they lose another 1.5 seconds to the car ahead. So AJ has lost 1.5 seconds to Zola. Marinkello has lost 1.5 seconds to AJ. And now Sandro is likely to lose 1.5 seconds to Marinkello over the course of this next lap. As Janne there running wide through turn 4, picks himself up another 3-second time penalty. Let's take a look back at the front now, though, as they're about to exit the final corner once again and enter lap 28 of 35. Christian Sendel is the man in second. He's the man with the DRS and the ERS advantage as well over Valu. Valu holding on, though, holding steady out at the front. And you can see it's still a similar situation in battery charge. Christian Sendel is still nursing that advantage that he has over both Valu and his teammate Jan Fehler behind right now. In the next few laps, that's when we're going to start seeing Christian Sendel really pushing it. He needs to make sure that come the last lap of this race, Valu is without anything left in the tank, and Christian Sendel will, hopefully for him, he'll be on about 20% battery charge. He needs to force Valu to deplete his own battery right now. Of course, Christian Sendel could also just be playing it safe in the championship, as Neon is pointing out in the chat there. As, you know, he does have the advantage over Jan Fehler. Staying ahead of Valu is pretty much guaranteeing him that he will be able to finish ahead of Jan. And they are the championship rivals right now. But, you know, Sendel, he's a winner. He's won 4 times this season already. He'd love to make it a 5th. Jan Fehler would love to win this race as well, of course. He's won 3 times. The 2 McLaren drivers make up 7 of the 10 wins we've had, or the 9 wins we've had so far this season. The others being made up by Neon and by Ace Ritchie, both driving for the Alfa Romeo team at various points in this season. Red Bull yet to register a win after Vexit did win back on track in Japan, but he had it taken away from him for an incident with Jan Fehler into the Casio Triangle a few weeks ago. Valu has not had anything like a win thus far this season. His best result of the season, a 3rd place finish in France 2 races ago. And this could be big news for him. He will not complain one bit if Christian Sendel doesn't feel like taking a risk and feels like sitting behind him and just staying in 2nd right now. Valu will take that any day of the week. Oli P is into the pit lane again, as KX Ricardo just picked up another 3-second time penalty. Oli P will be going on to a set of softs for the final 6 laps of this race, and he will be looking to try and sneak the fastest lap, you would have to imagine. Running around down in 17th for the time being, and he has maybe enough time to catch up to Zay if the pace differential between them is big enough. He needs a couple of seconds a lap, but he might just have that with those fresh soft tyres. Scars, meanwhile, he's getting pretty close to Peso down into turn 1. He was within 0.2 of a second there. Oh, and wow, he's lost it. He's got too greedy. He got closer than he'd ever been and thought, now, this is my opportunity. But he loses it on the exit of turn 2. And that was Lars Algera, the lap car of Lars Algera getting past. Now both the Renaults will file on through as well. They do both have penalties, but they might still have better tyres at this part of the race than Scars, especially now that Scars has got his tyres all grassy and worn them out a little bit with that half spin as well. And Scars was looking to try and take P4 away, but now he's down in 7th. He can still look to claim 5th, the position he was in, but he has to stick with the 2 Renaults up ahead. Here we are once again, back in the lead fight for this race. The battle for first. Christian Sendel still has plenty of battery charge. Valu does not. Jan Fehler has a similar amount to Valu, both in the 30s right now. Valu almost went defensive down into turn 1. You can see Sendel's pushing him around turn 1 there, so nearly making contact with the rear end of Valu, but never for 1 second does it seem out of control at all. Christian Sendel fully in control of the gap between himself and Valu, fully in control of that McLaren, as they now head to the exit of Sector 1 and into the 2nd sector of this lap. Lap 31 of 35. And Scars, meanwhile, he's falling further and further away from the Renault drivers. He's lost about 0.3 over the course of the last lap. If they continue to drive away from him at that rate, he will finish down in 7th, and the Renault drivers will hold on to a fantastic 5th and 6th place finishes for them. That would be Labrax's best finish of the season, and it would move him ahead of Vexit in the standings. It would move him ahead of Riptide in the standings, and it would get him pretty close to Ace Ritchie as well. Of course, Vexit and Ace Ritchie not going to be scoring any more points this season, as they're both retired from the division for the remainder of the season. So Labrak should be able to claim maybe 4th in the championship come the end of this season. And that is an amazing thing to think about for a man who has not finished higher than 6th until perhaps this race here today. He has just had the consistency race after race, 6th place, 7th place, 6th place, 8th place, always in and around the top 10 has Labrak's been, and that has been enough to lead him very well in the championship standings. Meanwhile, out to the front, we saw Christian Sendel getting very close to Valu once again there. But still, it just seems like he doesn't have enough. Whether by design or because he can't find it, Christian Sendel cannot find a way past Valu right now. Valu kicking up the dirt there on the exit of 7. Ooh, and that's bad news for Labrax. Just as I was saying, he was on track for his best result of the season, potentially. He picks up another 3-second time penalty, and that all but guarantees that he will finish down in 7th rather than in 5th. And that's a big time penalty to have picked up. Luca, his teammate, will steal the position away. Scars will almost certainly steal the position away as the gap between himself and the Renaults has now stabilized as well. Sendel had a bit of a poor run out of the final corner briefly, but you can see how much he is gaining on Valu with that DRS. And the run down towards turn 1. Not close enough still to think about the move. We are still as you were with the front 4. It's Valu from Sendel, from Jan Fehler, from Peso. Ever since the first lap of this race, when Scars had a poor start, it has been those 4 leading the way. And meanwhile, the Renaults have swapped places now. Luca has been allowed to pass Labrax, and I think that was probably a designed call between the 2 Renaults to allow Luca to try and get 3 seconds to Scars and let him finish ahead of the South African. And that's good teamwork between the Renault drivers. That is what they need to be doing right now. Further back, here is some battling going on. I think Kex Ricardo and Zola might have been battling. AJ and Marinkello involved here as well. Marinkello has stagnated a little bit on his charge up through the field. Couldn't make his way past AJ or his teammate Zola. So he's still sitting down in 12th with those medium tyres starting to go off towards the end of this race. But we're about to enter the penultimate lap of the race. And Valu still leads the way. Look at him trying to break the toe down the main stretch. Sendel reeling him in. Oh, and you got to feel he didn't use anything. He didn't use his overtake at all on that straight. He's using it now on the exit of turn 2, but only pumping it to try and get closer to Valu. And I tell you what, he got pretty close there without using any battery charge. Valu is down at 20%. Sendel, he's up at 40%. And maybe if Christian Sendel deploys on the entry to turn 1 on the final lap, he might have enough to take the win away from Valu, and what a cruel thing that would be for Valu, who has led this race pretty much from start to finish, barring the pit phase when he lost the lead to the guys who are yet to pit. Valu has always been in charge of this race until now, with Christian Sendel potentially finding an advantage on him. And we'll see whether Valu can save up enough of his battery charge. It's like France all over again. Let's see. What has Valu got? He's still down at 20 right now. Sendel, he's up at 46 behind him. He'll gun it right now on the exit of the final corner. It's half a second between the 2 of them. It's 4 tenths. It's 3 tenths. It's 2 tenths. It's 1, and it's not enough for Christian Sendel as Valu remains ahead. Down towards turn 2 we go. Will Christian Sendel find enough here? He does not. And maybe that Valu has done enough. The Finn still leads the way on the final lap with no overtaking opportunities remaining on the lap. Christian Sendel is using the overtake down towards turn 4. It's desperation now for Sendel. He wants to find it anywhere he can, but he's used it all up. Valu's used his all up as well. Jan Fehler has a touch more than the 2 of them, but there's nowhere for him to get through either. It looks to me like this now is cast in stone at the front. Valu leading the way from Christian Sendel and Jan Fehler just in behind. Peso 6 seconds down the road from them. Then you have the 2 Renaults, Luca and Labrax. Scars hanging on to that battle. It's going to be very close between Scars and Luca for the 3-second margin when they get to the checkered flag. But let's concentrate back at the front right now, because here is Valu rounding the final corner. Sendel gets close, but he doesn't get close enough. And Valu wins finally in Season 3 of Premier X. Christian Sendel comes across the line in second. Jan Fehler behind him in third. But Valu will be so relieved to finally be taking the checkered flag in first in Premier X Season 3. It's been a long time coming for the Red Bulls. It's been a long time coming for our Season 2 champion Valu. But he pulls it off here in Hungary with a fantastic drive. Meanwhile, further down, you can see the penalties filtering down through the order. Scars did manage to get himself close enough to Luka Witavik at the end to take 5th position away. Luka 6th, Labrak 7th, then Cameron Cooper for what must be one of his best results of the season. That might be his best result of the season in 8th. Hats off to the Mercedes driver. He didn't have the best qualifying, but his race pace was good enough to claim 8th, and that is no mean feat in this field. KX Ricardo was the guy who finished down in 9th behind him, and we'll see the rest of the order in just a moment's time. But there is your race winner, Valu. The game gives driver of the day to Luka Witavik, who definitely did have a good one in the Renault. Both Renault drivers drove a fantastic race. In the end, Luka did finish ahead of his teammate thanks to those penalties. He got let through come the end. And there we see it. The Red Bull atop the podium with the McLarens alongside. This is a sight we thought we would see so many more times this season. But here in Hungary, it has finally happened. And what a race that was. Not a huge amount of overtaking action, no overtaking action between the front three, but it was a real chess match. It was exciting until the end. They were nip and tuck, and you can see it in their fastest lap times as well. Both Valu and Jan Fehler actually managing faster laps than Christian Sendel in the end, but you've got to imagine in clean air, it did seem like Christian Sendel probably was the fastest driver of the three. And there we see the rest of the order. There's KX Ricardo 9th, Zola managing 10th, Maranello 11th. That's a very encouraging race for Haas. AJ on his return to Premier X in 12th. He won't mind that too much. He actually finished it. I think he crossed the line in 9th, but lost a lot of positions due to having an extra time penalty. Jane Tripkov with that wing damage and extra penalties down in 13th. But he stays ahead of Sandro, who finishes 14th. Mark, in his debut Premier X race, is 15th. Zay, 16th after opening lap contact. Ollie P, 17th after he crashed into the side of Lars Algera, and Lars himself there in 18th with the fastest lap of the race, a lap down on the race leaders. And Riptide did not finish after he was sideways twice in the opening stint of the race. So with that, I think we are going to go to a break here and see if we can get any interviews for you in the aftermath of the Hungarian Grand Prix. So stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes' time.
close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands.
All right, hello, and welcome back, everyone, for some quick post-race interviews here. Not with Valu, unfortunately, but with our second and third place finishers, Christian Sendel and Jan Fehler, the all-German McLaren team. And first, let's speak to the man who finished in second, Christian Sendel. First of all, how frustrating was that race for you?
It wasn't frustrating.
Really?
The only goal for me was to finish ahead of Fehler. Would be nice if I have won, but yeah, didn't go well because my wheelbase almost fell down. I pushed it midways to my table. Yeah, I'm just happy that I finished P2. But yeah, I'm a bit frustrated because of my quali lap. I dropped it completely there.
Yeah, I mean, do you think you had the potential for pole position given what you saw from the Red Bulls in qualifying?
Yeah, I think I could do 0.5, 0.4 maybe, but I struggled the whole race and the quali in turn 1. I lost so much time there, but yeah, I gained it back because of my wings. Yeah, but P3 was good, and yeah, I gained the P2 back at the start.
Yeah, and then thinking ahead to the last couple of races of the season, 2 more races in Austria and Belgium. Are either of those tracks that you're particularly looking forward to?
Belgium, yes. Austria, no.
Okay.
Austria is a track I hate. Every time I drive there, I get 10 seconds penalty or something like that. I'm just bad at this track.
I definitely know that feeling, so don't worry too much about it.
Yeah. But I love Belgium.
Yeah, I think I think Belgium generally tends to be a driver favorite track, and definitely a fan favorite as well. I'm looking forward to that as a season ender. And thank you very much for the interview today, Christian, and congratulations on your second place finish.
Thank you.
And now Jan Fehler, who finished in third, but half a second behind Christian come the end of the race, less than a second behind our race leader, Valu. And it was pretty much like that the whole way through. I want to ask you, Jan, about your pit stop decision, because you went in 3 laps later than Valu, 4 laps later than your teammate, if I recall correctly. Was the plan always to try and extend the overcut? Were you hoping they were going to get slowed up in traffic? What was going on there?
That wasn't always the plan. I kind of made that up during the race as I saw what was going on. Obviously, sitting in P3, there's not a lot you can do, as we saw in Bahrain already when I was third behind Exit and Jeffrey Ritchie, right? So the best opportunity to do something is with the pit stop strategy. And Christian pitted 1 or 2 laps earlier than I anticipated him to. It was quite surprising. So there I had no choice but to overcut him, of course, by at least 1 lap. And then Valu came in the next lap. And because he's in a Red Bull and I'm in a McLaren, I can't follow him into the pits. Otherwise, I get held up by 1 or 2 seconds, whatever the game decides to. So I didn't really want to follow him into the pits either. So I had to overcut him as well. And then I thought, well, at this point, they're coming out behind all the people who started on hard tires. So maybe they get stuck. Why not just extend the stint as long as you can and hope you have a tire advantage at the end that's big enough to make some moves. Because I have some experience with that in AOR this season where Christian did that actually because I was on a soft hard strategy there. Unfortunately though, that didn't really work because the tire advantage that I then had was not big enough and Valu made his way through the hard tire runners pretty quick. I saw that on my MFD on the top left-hand corner. And when he only had one car ahead of himself, I knew, okay, this is the lap I have to pit because he's going to get past this lap and then he's going to be quicker than me. Thanks to the tire advantage and I guess the overall pace as well. I think Christian and I had a bit more pace in us than we could show today behind Valu. I managed to close up, but yeah, the advantage was just not there for me to do anything. And yeah, even in the final laps, even when Christian tried something on Valu, I guess with ERS and everything, he still had enough in his battery to defend. So it was just, cruising until the end at that point.
Indeed, and not so much imprint you could make, sadly, but still managing a podium nevertheless. And again, I'm going to ask you the same question about the last couple of races of the season. We've got Austria and we have Belgium. Are either of those tracks appealing to you?
Austria's fine, but dangerous because of track limits. And Belgium, I don't know. It's a cool track and everything, but I just don't like driving that on the F1 games whatsoever. I don't know, it just never clicks with me. Just gotta hang on and see what I can do. Maybe I can find some time and motivation to practice for that properly and very nicely, pretending it's like an esports Pro Series race or whatever. Maybe I can find some pace. If not, then, well, gotta make the most of whatever happens in the race then.
Yeah, absolutely. But I hope for your sake and for the championship's sake, you can find that pace, both in Austria and in Belgium as well. And thank you very much for the interview and congratulations on your third place finish as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So with that, I think we will be wrapping up the show there. So thank you everyone for watching and for bearing with me while I did the solo commentary today. My vocal cords are starting to drop out on me, so I will bid you a farewell for now. But thank you for watching what has been an enthralling race around the Hungaroring. Good night.